Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's sweet.
Turtle time.
Amy.
Riley.
Oh, Amy, you've never said my name like that before, ever.
Has anyone ever said your name like that in the
Yes.
history of life?
A few times before I've been sung my name just like that, but never in this context.
It's like that in Garden State when she's like, I try and do something no one's ever done before. And she's like, la, la.
Wee. Yeah.
And he's like, you're incredible.
You're one of the coolest people I've ever met, and you are going to be the prototype for the manic pixie dream girl.
100%.
Right? I remember when I was a freshman of college, you were younger than me. That was the movie to see.
Yeah.
It was like how young people watch movies now, and they're like, I'll never see anything better than this, Saltburn.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. It's so weird and off the wall, and I can't believe someone ever made this movie because they've only seen 6 movies at a time.
It's so deep.
Garden State was that for me.
Yeah. Soundtrack off the charts.
Oh, the soundtrack rips.
Yeah.
And when he does put his headphones to her, she puts his earbuds,
Yeah.
her earbuds in his ears and says,
Yeah.
you got to listen to this beautiful song. That Shin song does
Yeah.
rip.
Yeah. The Shins will change your life.
He had good taste in music, Zach Braff.
Yeah. It's a great soundtrack.
Maybe better than his taste in all other things.
Yeah.
Don't you
I
think?
feel like it was all downhill from there.
Have you ever revisited, not to get kind of into Garden State, but have you revisited it as a adult when your
I want
brain
to
has
say
been
I
fully
watched
formed?
it during like COVID or something, and it wasn't as cringe as I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be like horrifying.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, I'm still down.
Cool. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, his career really fell off after Garden State. He like tried one more movie like that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was directing, like, he did this like old man heist movie that I watched. That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
But anyway, well, that was also, I was too young to even appreciate what Zach Braff was going through in that movie because it was like he had been in Hollywood for a couple years after college and then
Right.
he's returning home for the first time
Right.
as like a semi-famous man.
Yeah. And he's depressed.
Yeah.
And he needs antidepressants, and his family doesn't understand him.
Yeah. So all that to say is that when you said my name like that, and then you referred to it as Natalie Portman in Garden State, that was all accurate.
Great. We can move forward then.
Would you like to?
Should we do Summer House
Oh, right.
Trailer Minute or Poor Things Minute?
Well, I guess since we're talking about films,
Right.
Would this be a natural segue for me to ask you, if you'll permit?
Yeah.
I saw the film Poor Things on my birthday,
Right.
December 20th, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
And then I know you watched it recently.
Yeah.
Like within the last
And
week.
it's relevant because it took home some Golden Globes. So we're just covering the news right now.
It got more Golden Globes than I even imagined. I was
Yeah.
proud that it was so awarded.
Yeah.
So, can I ask what you thought about Poor Things?
I loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, just like me.
I loved it.
Full love.
I was surprised. I thought Emma Stone was amazing. I
Yes.
came in ready to be annoying because I'm a stinker and I thought it was going to be too much going on.
I'm a stinker too.
Try hard,
Yep.
too much. And I was like, honestly, it's incredible that she pulled it off. Like, I can't
yeah.
imagine anyone else doing what she did.
That was a thought experiment. I was just going to ask you right after you got done saying it. What other contemporary actor would do better than Emma Stone than she does in Poor Things? We were saying like Jennifer Lawrence,
Oh, God,
and I don't
no.
think she could have ever pulled off the like brain dead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but like the first half of that movie, Jennifer Lawrence or almost anyone else doing it, it
Yeah.
would not have come off right.
Right.
Like Emma Stone's like odd acting energy was so perfect for that role. It almost couldn't have been anyone else.
I know, it was wild. I noticed that she produced it too, so I feel like she really was vibing with the material.
Yeah, and I don't think Yorgos, I know him, and so I asked him this. I don't think it was written with anybody else in mind. I mean, it was a book that he adapted, but I think the entire process, he was always thinking Emma Stone, because they already had that established relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't think he even would have considered anybody else the entire time.
Yeah. No, I thought everybody was really great except for, what's his name? Rothaniel?
Are you saying the final man, Chris Abbott, the final boss?
No, the guy on the cruise who's a comedian.
Oh, Gerard Carmichael.
I thought he was god awful.
Yeah,
I hate to say it.
That's what I thought.
Stopped
too.
me dead in my tracks.
He unfortunately did not know what movie he was in.
It was just like he was reading words.
Yeah,
He was not connected to the words coming out of his mouth whatsoever.
I don't think Yorgos properly explained to him the tone of the film.
Yeah, everyone else was like dandy and fancy free and had so much flair.
Yeah.
And he was just playing it like 2023, like reading words.
His performance was very jarring. Definitely a weak spot in the film. And I also didn't think Christopher Abbott, who, I don't really.
He was a little blah.
Yeah, it's like that's the final. Like I was so excited for the final 30 minutes because that was the more unconventional part where like we're gonna
it should have been
spoil
like Christoph Waltz.
It could have been anybody. It
like
could
a
have,
villain.
It would have been so much more powerful. We were even speculating like Colin Farrell. He already had that relationship. Like Colin Farrell would have like ripped that thing apart.
Yeah.
Like it just I don't have the reverence for Chris Abbott that the world does, and it was just deflating to have him be the final evil.
Did you think there was anything intentional about the fact that him and Rami Youssef look extremely similar?
No, I did think about that the entire time that they did, and I just think that there was some small casting mistakes in that movie, but they barely ding the overall power of that movie.
Yeah,
it was just too. It was too good that even two kind of lackluster performances don't hamper it at all.
Mark Ruffalo left no crumbs.
Yes, tonally, Mark Ruffalo was the funniest I've ever seen him in anything. Every decision he made in that movie could have been so bad if he had handled it, badly. His comic timing or everything. Like there's so many things that could have gone wrong with that role. He did the absolute best version of that.
I forget exactly what happens, but when he goes, he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, I don't know why I'm calling out specific moments without a visual, but I literally spit out my Diet Coke. I was laughing so hard.
We were all uproariously laughing at the movie, and I honestly think of how funny it was. It almost makes you suspicious of the merit of the film and how meaningful the story actually was, because you don't expect a prestige movie to actually have that much humor.
Yeah,
but it was
major heart.
It was like the a high watermark for tonally matching comedy with drama.
Right. I realized while I was watching the Golden Globes and they were doing all the clip packages and everything, I was like, oh, it kind of has the exact same message but way better as Barbie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's very
it's just
similar.
like a dumb bitch sent out into the world who knows nothing, who's innocent and pure and has to learn her way through and benefits from feeling or learning the hard knocks.
Yeah. And it's so funny also that people are going into Poor Things not knowing the subject matter and not knowing how much furious jumping is a part of that movie.
I didn't know.
Yeah, right. No one does. But it's like, how could they have prepared you for it?
I'm
in
glad
the trailer,
that they didn't. It was such a funny surprise.
It's a very funny surprise. There is it's just if you haven't seen Poor Things and you don't know what to expect from the trailer, which is a good thing, you just have to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like seeing people make love on camera, I don't know what's going on, but don't, maybe don't see this movie, but
the costumes and the production design, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking one of my main takeaways was do you think that Guillermo del Toro died when he saw it?
Yes.
Do you think he was like, oh my God,
yes.
freaking Frankenstein, steampunk, monster love story.
Oh my God, I bet his eyes rolled in the back of his head. He started levitating in the Alamo Drafthouse, wherever he saw it, and he goes, I'll never make a movie that is this good, that has all of the things I love more in it in my life.
I was thinking of him.
Wow, that's sweet. You were just picturing in your mind's eye Guillermo del Toro. Has he, on the record, stated?
I meant to look it up.
I almost think it's so much in his wheelhouse that he wouldn't. He is very laudatory of people who make good movies, but I almost think maybe he'd be like,
pissed.
Whoa, that is so close to my dream and ambition. It's sort of like, did you ever watch that movie? I can't even remember the movie he made. It was like a ghost story that was so bad I wanted to walk
Crimson
out of it.
Peak.
Crimson
Yeah.
Peak. It's like,
Yeah.
this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy Guillermo del Toro for the most part. I like Nightmare Alley,
Yeah.
but I'm grading it on a curve just because I have such a low bar for his
Yeah.
movies. So I think you're right. He was probably sitting in the theater going, God damn, I'm watching a masterpiece.
Did you see he has a Frankenstein movie that they're about to make, and Jacob Elordi is going to be Frankenstein now instead of...
Jacob Elordi is going to be Frankenstein?
I think it was going to be Andrew Garfield.
My God.
Jacob Elordi's covering every track.
My God. Did you watch Saltburn?
Yes.
Oh, did you like his performance in it?
I thought he was good.
Okay.
Like, he's just like a little hottie. Like, he didn't have to work that hard for that role. He was just like, you know.
I guess maybe Frankenstein is a good role for him. You just stand there and barely utter
I mean,
words.
he did Elvis.
Yeah, I know. I didn't see Priscilla. Did you see Priscilla?
I liked it.
Is he good in that?
Yeah.
All right, so maybe I'm being hard on Jacob Elordi. I just think he's been vaulted to the stars pretty quickly, and I'm not fully aware
Did you
of
watch
his
Euphoria?
merit. No, I didn't watch it.
He's
I watched it
scary
the first
in
season.
it.
He is.
Yeah, he's like super evil.
All right, well, I'll give him credit for being Frankenstein and Guillermo del Toro. I'm not going to judge him too harshly. I just think that it's all of a sudden it's Jacob Elordi season.
He's the new Timmy, even though we still have Timmy.
When I was watching the Golden Globes and I was watching Timmy kind of like flirt or whatever, he was like making kissy faces at which Kylie Jenner. I was just like, I forgot Timothy was an actor. I wasn't expecting him to get an award. I wasn't expecting him to speak.
Nominated for Wonka.
Yeah, I just pictured him as like, oh yeah, that's Timothy Chalamet, the guy that just goes to all these things. He's like more of like a guy who's on magazine covers than he is an actual actor.
Yeah.
Like,
I very much enjoyed watching the lip reading and all that.
Yeah. Did you get the final analysis of what it was?
It sounded pretty benign for the two of them. It was like her complimenting his top, and
She said, I want to get one.
Yeah, she's like, I want one of those, and then he's like, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a sort of cynical take on that.
You think they're bullshit?
Well, yes.
Okay.
And then also like there's no reason why on camera, like right then, you need to be looking lovingly in each other's eyes and saying, I love you, I want to marry you so bad, I love you more than life itself, when you know that's going to be filmed.
Yeah.
No one is so in love, no one in the world is so in love that you can't override that feeling in public and just be normal.
I felt that way about the Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez conversation, where Selena goes and whispers in Taylor Swift's ear and she makes a face going, oh!
You thought that was more for cameras?
I mean, obviously that was going to get picked apart.
When Taylor went,
she goes, no fucking way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of like behind the scenes moments. Like the Golden Globes were only good for all of those little stuff that they caught.
Yeah.
Like, in that tiny room.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to get into how horrible that show was, but
yeah.
And then alternatively, the Vanderpump crew went to the Emmys.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that because it seemed like I didn't know it was the Creative Arts Emmys, which are like
The Schmemmys.
The Schmemmys. They're not filmed.
No, they're for like losers. No offense.
Yeah, I was
like
so
people
sad.
we know went.
I know a lot of people I know went, and I was like, the Emmys are on tonight, and then it's like, oh, it's like you said.
I think I got that from Kathy Griffin. She called it the Schmemmys.
Okay, well, no offense to the award winners.
No, it's like the down to brass tacks, the working class awards.
It just felt, for how much celebration there was about Vanderpump Rules getting an Emmy, to have that relegated to this night that we don't even see. And all I heard was just like what people said about their experience, but there's no record of it. There's no, we don't get to see any of it. I heard that Lisa Vanderpump had to announce her own category, and that Ryan Reynolds won for Wrexham Hall or whatever that show is. So she had to give Ryan Reynolds the
Why did they
award,
have her presenting her own category?
like you said, it's the Schmemmys. They don't have any rhyme or reason. And I heard also that Schwartz said that all of them independently announced different categories. Like Schwartz went up and did a joke, and he said his joke bombed.
Oh no!
And he when he was walking back to his table, Katie said that was a really bad joke.
Oh,
right.
She's mean to him.
I know she is.
I have to shout out my sister, she's a gaffer on Marvelous Miss Maisel, and they won a cinematography shmemmy, but like the DP wins that. But he shouted out my sister, and I think she gets like a paper Emmy.
That is so sweet. What's a paper Emmy?
Like, I think her boss, the DP, wins the trophy, but since she's on his team, she gets like a certificate.
Did you say your sister's a gaffer on
Yeah.
it? Whoa, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was a gaffer.
Yeah.
Can you
Very few female gaffers.
For sure. And can you remind our little turtle cuties what a gaffer does on set?
She's basically the queen of lights. So, like, the DP is in charge of the camera, but obviously that is in partnership with lighting. So
Yes.
he expresses what lighting will work, and she facilitates that.
Are gaffers technically G&E, or no, they're part of the camera department?
What is her union? I think there's like an electric union.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not to get you in the weeds, but congratulations to your sister for that. That is amazing.
So the Vanderpumps heard her name potentially if they were paying attention.
I think they were probably. They were. I listened to one of the Vanderpump Rules podcasts, and they were just talking about how honored they were and how they felt like they were in like a new class to be at the Emmys now. After being like only getting like MTV Movie Awards for like Best Kiss or whatever, they were like, this felt completely different.
Right. I mean, they must, because I was wondering, Ariana flew out for like 12 hours to go to the Emmys, the Shmemmys.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's been so busy for so long. The way I would be like, I'm not going to that.
I would have.
I wouldn't.
My counter, I would have.
It's not like she was nominated.
I know, but your show that you've been a part of for 8 years or almost 10
But it's
years.
the Shmemmys.
I never, until you said Shmemmys, I only thought of it as the Emmy Awards show that doesn't get filmed.
Yeah.
So I still think it's prestigious. I would have, if I was nominated for, if I was a part of a show that got nominated, I would probably drop everything and fly.
I think she was probably anticipating a win.
I mean, I think they should have won. I've never seen Ryan Reynolds' show, but I feel
What
like
is that on Apple?
It's an Apple show, and I feel like when a movie star goes down to television in terms of like takes on a television project, the Emmys wants to celebrate them so hard so that they will always consider TV a place that they can go, that's safe, and they'll get so many awards.
Yeah.
So like Ryan Reynolds just instantly gets an Emmy because he's a movie star who is on a TV show.
Yeah. I feel like, it was kind of, who were the other, do you know the other nominees?
I don't, like, two shows I never heard of.
Yeah.
Wrexham.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And then it's just, I don't know.
Because it's undeniable that, I'm not biased, Vanderpump was like the show of 2023. Like, it broke through.
And they're touting it completely. As like the number one cable show of 2023. It's like, if a show that no one's ever heard of breaks through for 6 months and has the power that has and becomes the most watched series on cable, you have to honor it.
Right. That was a flop choice. But I was just thinking, if I was Ariana, I would do anything. She must just be so used to at this point being like savagely busy.
Yeah.
For me, I'd be like looking for any way out. I'd be like, can I skip that? Can I not do this? Like she, ever since last March, it's been nonstop. And then the whole Dancing with the Stars thing, she never had time to come up for air. She had to rehearse at BravoCon.
Right.
Had to fly back. Then she's always back and forth from New York. Now she's doing Chicago rehearsals. Came to LA for like 12 hours for the Emmys, flew back. And her run in Chicago starts in like a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's definitely seems daunting to, me. But I think that if the Emmys are sandwiched in between an already busy schedule where she thought she'd have 2 weeks off and then the Emmys are coming up, I think some people just would make, room for that.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, she's the busiest person in the world. Maybe she takes cat naps.
Yeah.
Like Einstein. You know what I'm talking about?
Wasn't that Da Vinci?
Da Vinci does that. Well, I think a lot of
I learned that from Seinfeld.
Da Vinci did that?
Remember Kramer for a while tries to just sleep throughout the day instead of overnight.
Like where you
goes
get just
insane.
like 20-minute naps. Yeah. I can't. Yeah, I could never do that.
No, I just hope that she doesn't like have a huge come down after all of this, because I feel like she might be out of necessity sort of addicted to the chaos of the schedule.
Like there's just been no time to actually think.
yeah, I would go insane.
Yeah. I don't know, but we'll see soon because, at some point, Ariana probably will have to have a break in her life, after Chicago. How long does Chicago last?
Did they say how long her run was? I think
I
it's a
don't know.
couple months, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe she's just thinking like the fall is her time to rest.
Yeah. We'll see. Sending her energy.
Me too.
Wait.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Summer House trailer yet. But, sorry. Do you want to talk about
I just quickly want to say that there was huge news in the Chud Tunnel sector. Did you see this?
Wait, news from the Chud Tunnel?
Thinking of New York reminded me. There was a Chud Tunnel discovered in Brooklyn.
Okay, I only saw for a quick second that a Chud Tunnel had been created in New York, but I didn't know anything about it and I didn't pursue it further. Tell me what happened.
And to anyone that is like, why are you talking about Chud Tunnels? On our Patreon podcast, Villa Rosa VIP, we have an entire storyline. A conversation, what do you call it? Ongoing saga about
documenting that there is a secret tunnel underneath Villa Rosa that connects to Sir and that connects to Tom Tom and that used to connect to Pump that Ken and Lisa can use to navigate between those businesses without seeing a bunch of fans on their way.
Yes.
That's how you always can see how Ken and Lisa can just sort of pop up at any of their establishments and get home without being seen.
Right.
There's an underground network, of tunnel systems similar to what the Chuds use, right?
Yes, the underground dwellers. So I didn't get to the bottom of exactly why this exists, but apparently I think it was out of a synagogue or a temple in Brooklyn. Hasidic Jewish men, they built a tunnel that led from like the basement through to another location, and it was illegal, like I think non-permitted.
New York doesn't want you to build tunnels
I
underneath
guess
it.
not. It's like that tunnel lady on TikTok that's getting canceled.
But there's other people creating tunnels?
You haven't seen the tunnel lady on TikTok?
No.
There's this woman that's building a tunnel out of her basement. She's like digging through the foundation and like into her neighborhood. And for a while she was saying that she was an engineer, but people have found out that she's like a software engineer.
Whoa.
And now people are starting to be like, yeah, like you might cause a sinkhole. Like,
yeah, of course.
This is bad.
So before I ask about Tunnel Lady, what was the purpose of the tunnel
That's
under
the
the
thing.
synagogue?
I don't know, but I saw there was this tweet of a man. I think he was like a news guy or someone, that he was telling people and tweeting that he lives in a basement apartment, and he was like, for like all of last year, he was like, I'm hearing Yiddish under my feet. There's no basement underneath me. I live on the bottom floor and I'm hearing Jewish conversations. And everyone thought he was like going full like Kanye, like losing his mind, and we're like borderline gonna cancel him because they're like, what are you talking about? Like he was like, there's Jews underneath me, like whatever. And then he like retweeted the news headline that there was like a secret Jewish tunnel, and he was like, I'm vindicated.
One of the biggest I told you so's in history. If you doubted this guy's validity, he got totally validated. So I think if you are building a tunnel, which everyone has wanted to do at some point, you have to say the legitimate reason why you want it.
Right. Yeah. I honestly like tapped out when I couldn't find the answer quick enough.
That's the only question I would have after reading that news.
I was like, Control F.
So you just wanted to know that the fact that they had tunnels was enough for you. I really want to know what
why
they were for.
Right.
So if any little turtle cutie, when you listen to this on Friday morning, if you've
can you just comment? That's the new way I'm going to read the news. I'm just going to read the headline, say it on the podcast, and then wait like 4 days for someone to explain it to me.
I would love to know more, but I didn't pursue it actively on my own. But if there's a little turtle cutie that's listening to this and you know why those tunnels were dug in New York City, let us know, because I'm interested in it.
Please.
I get why Ken and Lisa have their tunnel.
Right.
It's so much more convenient than having to go out on the street and go back and forth between your businesses when there are a bunch of fans outside.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I'm very intrigued though.
The fact that there's a Chud tunnel update, and then you were like, there's one in New York, and also have you seen the tunnel stuff that's going on TikTok? I just can't believe there's so much tunnel activity.
Yeah. No, people are starting to turn on that TikTok woman. I'll send it to you. It's
Okay.
crazy. She has like a whole like mine she's building in her like basement where there's like just like heavy duty tools. There's like a moat. There's like a like it's crazy. It's really, I don't know how she's alive or how her house
But
hasn't
has
imploded.
she explained why she has one?
Yeah, what is her goal? I always just get the videos where she's like, today I'm working on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
So I've never gotten to the
only
bottom.
question when someone is starting to say why they have a tunnel is, why are
Where
you
are you
creating?
going?
Where are you going
Yeah.
with it? Tunnels have a purpose. They're
Right.
to get you from point A to point B
Right.
underground.
Right. It's
you-
very, what was that movie called? The Chud movie of the year last year with Justin Long.
Chud movie. That was a total chud. We never talked about it. Barbarian.
I love
was-
Barbarian.
Oh, I didn't love it as much as you. No,
I saw it
offense.
twice.
But good. I'm so glad. I'm glad you found joy in it. But that was a total kind of chud. Down
Total
there.
Chud.
Better Call Saul. Did you ever watch Better Call
Yeah.
Saul? Gus Fring. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah,
he has,
chud.
He has a little chud tunnel from his fake house
Yes.
that is actually running security on his house that he
That
lives
was a fun
at.
reveal.
It was so awesome.
Yeah.
He built a tunnel underneath his house, and he has fake people riding around on bicycles. Well, spoiler alert for Better Call Saul, but it's
If you haven't watched it, you totally should. It's sick.
it's so underrated, and it's a prestige TV that no one talks about. I don't know why. You have to watch, I guess, Breaking Bad to
Yeah.
understand it, but it's almost better than Breaking Bad.
I binged it right before the final season.
What a beautiful thing you did.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. Well, good. That was tunnel talk, and I feel good
Okay.
about that. Do you
Let's
now?
chud over to Summer House.
Let's do it. Let's build a little tunnel from talking about entertainment at large and tunnels at large
Yeah.
to Bravo news
Yes.
at large. Would that be good to you?
The most relevant topic.
Okay. So, Summer House trailer right before Amy and I sat down together dropped for everyone.
Yeah, I screamed.
You screamed?
Yeah.
So, I have to assume expectations were met / exceeded, right?
Yeah, I thought it looked really good.
I thought it looked great too. And I forgot, as I'm watching Summer House, that trailer, I forgot how much I need Summer House back in my life and how much of a drought it's been. Because we see them all in their peripheral shows. Like we've seen Kyle, we've seen Amanda, we've seen Danielle.
Yeah.
But them all coming back to their home for the summer
Yeah.
was very powerful.
I know. It's been so long since we've known that Carl and Lindsay have broken up that I forgot that we actually get to see it, even though we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So getting a little tease of that conversation is extremely thrilling.
Yeah, and we've thought about it so much of like how that actually happened or whatever, but to get to finally see it in its full form and know
Yeah.
everything about it is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I posted this on Instagram, but Lindsay reposted the key art where it's everybody in the cast and then it's her and Carl looking at each other and smiling. And she posted, she's like, FYI, this photo was taken 12 days before he called off the wedding and we broke up, as if to say that, look how loving we are in this photo. Like, as if the alternative would be he was brooding in the corner, making it very clear that he was considering breaking up during the
Yeah.
promo photo shoot.
Yeah, like as if he would spin around and have his back to her, like looking mad during this, photo shoot is a little silly. And also, she's using it as to show how in love they seemed, but it's the exact same pose they always did back in the day, where Lindsay has that over-exaggerated laugh face while she's like the happiest she's ever been. It's like, obviously that is not reflecting your true feelings.
Right. Do you think she knows that? Do you think she has any awareness that she thinks people are going to turn on her when we see how it went down? Because in the trailer, I love that Carl got ahead of it. They show bits of their breakup conversation or whatever, and he's just talking to presumably the crew and is like, she's going to try and spin this and say that she was blindsided. And then it cuts to her on the phone being like, I am blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that he got ahead of that too. Like he preempted the blindside conversation. He knew how she was going to spend this.
Yeah, and like I feel like ever since then she's been on a campaign to prove that he's an asshole, and it came out of nowhere when I assume that she knows that we're about to watch many months pass of them having huge issues.
I feel like your question was very thought-provoking, because it was like, does Lindsay expect the backlash that possibly will come once we see the full story? I feel like Lindsay is so probably hardened to the response to her, over these past 8 seasons, that I don't even think she cares what the mass audience thinks, and she probably has like the 30% of the Summer House fan base that absolutely loves her and rides for her, and that's who she's playing for.
Right.
Like you talk about all the time, the Reddit community that are Hub House stans, and I feel like that's the audience that she knows she'll never cross the line with, and the rest of the world doesn't matter to her. Right.
I mean, it's like with the Danielle stuff, she never took accountability for screwing her over, ever, to this day.
No, she had Danielle was best case scenario for the friend that you could fuck over completely and then have them come back to you. Danielle just didn't require very much at all. She was just there for Lindsay the minute Lindsay needed her, and then it was like, all is forgiven for me, Lindsay. I'll be there for you till the end of time.
Pisses me off.
I know. So, and it sounds like, okay, so that is going to be the end of the season. We know that conversation happened like 3 days after filming.
Potentially pick up.
So this is going to be structured similar to Scandival on Vanderpump Rules season 10, where we are going to see the inklings of this huge scandal that is going to take place.
Do you think they're going to pull a 3 months earlier?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, the minute you said that, I'm like, yes, they are going to start
Rewind.
They are going to start with Carl knocking on the door to his house with the cameras behind him, and he goes, "Lindsay, I think we need to talk." And 3 months earlier, 2 months earlier.
The way, I swear to God, I get way more excited in my bones about talking about Summer House than Vanderpump. I know Vanderpump's going to be great. We're going to give it our all, and it's going to be highly entertaining, but I care so much about this that, if I'm being honest, I get like way more true excitement talking about Summer House.
Well, okay. Do you mean just in all time or in this era right now?
Currently.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Because Vanderpump Rules is going to deal with the aftermath of a huge sensational event. The aftermath. Yeah. Summer House is leading up to a huge event that we really care about. It's like, it's way more exciting to be on the precipice of something huge that you know is going to happen than it is the downfall of something. Yeah. And I do like that it looks like, more than I even thought, that Carl is teasing this happening when he's having his conversation with Kyle. I thought almost that Carl was going to be withdrawn and taking this all in stride and not really letting his true feelings out. But from this trailer, it seems like he's actively talking about the problems in the relationship. Yeah. And they even have a scene where he's talking to his stepdad, who was going to marry them. And he said definitively, he was like, "I would not marry you at this state."
Yeah, he's like, "I've married hundreds of couples. I've seen all kinds of relationships, and I would not participate."
That is now, I am even more enticed than I already was, just knowing that this is going to be a through line throughout the season. Carl did well to keep his feelings active throughout the season. And it's going to be, I mean, I think I'm with you. I'm more excited for Summer House just because I know what we're gearing up for. Whereas Vanderpump Rules, I feel like they're going to be sort of spiraling because they don't know how to deal with how they created such a huge moment. What do we do now? You know what I mean? There's going to be that energy of like, well, we're all here. What are we talking about now? You know?
Yeah. I really hope that I hope that the case is clear and that everyone finally has to eat shit and say their relationship was doomed clearly. And Amy and Riley were right. It was rotten. Knew all along.
Everyone is going to be eating shit, like you said, Amy. Prepare to eat shit, Summer House fans. We said it the minute that RadHouse fell. The minute that RadHouse fell, you and I were already allowing a lot of nuance into our discussion just because of what we knew about Lindsay and her past actions. We really have been on the forefront of saying, most likely this is not a hashtag blindside.
Right.
And it looks from the trailer that is very much the case. There were huge hints. And Lindsay, like we said, doesn't consider any fight that they had to be egregious enough to like end a relationship. She thought, once we're in a relationship, that's it. We never have to think about anything again. You are my person, and we're getting married, and we're flying to the moon together in our beautiful relationship. And that's not how Carl acted.
No.
Carl's like, this is concerning.
Right. There's the moment in the trailer when she's like, this is our year to have fun because who knows where we'll be next summer. I could be pregnant. And they cut to Carl and his face is like, it's like the woozy emoji with like the drunk face of like, ooh.
He's dead silent and he has a painted on smile on his face, but his eyes are not
He looks
matching.
sick. He's like, oh dear God, no.
You're right. You're getting me hyped up as hell. And I also love that we have two such powerful things to talk about at the same time. It's gonna be Vanderpump and then 3 weeks later Summer House. Like, I'm very excited for that era. It's gonna be very good.
No, it's gonna be great. And it looks like it's fun too. Like there's some new additions, which TBD, but keep it sexy. Looks like there'll be some drama just from, like the hookups of it all or whatever.
Keep it sexy. They definitely had a huge drought of single men last season. Chris was the only new addition. And it sounds like Chris is out on his ass.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think
he was too polite.
Yeah, and I don't think he made people want to, he's kind of like JT and Rod, where no one was so compelled to want to, make love to him.
Right.
Except that, didn't we saw that Maya and Chris at BravoCon
We're dating.
were dating
Yeah.
in the throes of romance.
Straight up.
Kissing.
Maybe they'll visit.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, you think both? Oh, it looks like Maya.
I don't think she was in the key art.
Oh, man, I really loved Maya.
Me too.
She was so cool and good on Summer House. I feel like she got such a bad rap. I don't know what people were thinking about Maya.
She was like a normal human being, but not boring.
That was just fun and actually legitimate friends with everybody and wasn't like outrageously, entertaining or whatever. But maybe Bravo kind of penalized her for having that conversation off camera when she told that guy that cheated on her 8 times or whatever that not to have that conversation on camera.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully she drops in. That would be nice.
What did you think about, it sounds like Kyle and Amanda go through it a little bit, like causing Kyle to cry about their relationship, and also Sierra. I'm sure within context that slight against Amanda won't sound too horrible when she said, do you feel like you have an identity outside of Kyle? Because I don't think you do.
Right.
Maybe it's just after
I bet it's about like Loverboy or something. Like her life is 24/7 Kyle. But did you also notice on Instagram the trailer? That's where I watched it, but they did a quick montage of them posing for the key art, and for some reason they put a sun emoji over Amanda's belly. But then so I was like, is that like some sort of a little wink that she's pregnant or something? But then when you look at the key art photos from that same shoot, she's slender as can be. So
who put a sun over her?
On the Bravo Instagram, when you watch, it's just a quick cut of everyone posing. And for some reason, there's a sun emoji over Amanda's stomach.
Do you think that was... Wait, on Winter House, they definitively say they're not pregnant, right?
Right.
So it wasn't like...
And it's like, to our knowledge, I assume that photo shoot was a while ago.
Wow.
But I also noticed when I went to her page, she doesn't post on the feed very much. So, and she mostly wears sweats. So who knows what's going on? I don't know if that was just a weird little whatever, but
Bravo, I think you have to explain yourself for why you put a sun. Was it an emoji or a graphic?
Emoji.
Explain why you put a sun emoji over Amanda's stomach, but then didn't carry that on to the other photos.
It was weird.
Oh, yeah, strange. Okay,
okay, well...
Was that everything good and worthy of speaking about in Summer House? There was a little bit of that new guy hitting on Paige.
Right.
And then Paige saying to Craig, what did she say to Craig? I hate you.
Yeah, it was some complaint about him never doing X, Y, and Z.
I'm sure that will also, within context will be fine.
It seems like the new guy is going to be, hopefully he's not problematic, but it sounds like he's aggressive.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, it looks good. I mean, it looks great, and my expectations are exceeded. It looks
Yeah, it looks
Like,
awesome.
Looks so good.
And I think the final not big topic, but both of us did listen to Rachel Goes Rogue, Going Rogue.
Rachel
podcast.
actively goes rogue.
Yeah, I listened to it when I was driving around the other day, and it's not good.
Okay. In what way did you find it not to be good?
I don't understand its purpose still.
Right.
The producer talks throughout while not having an as good of microphone. So it sounds like they're like chiming in, but they're actively chiming in for the whole hour.
That was my biggest complaint about the format. At some point,
Who is that person?
Yeah, at some point, Rachel is talking.
She basically is a co-host.
Yeah, she's going for like 5 minutes about what the premise of the podcast is, and that she didn't want to do this, and that she was sort of like really encouraged to do this like the day before or whatever. Then at some point, a producer just chimes in and starts asking questions, but they're never introduced who they are, and it's basically an interview.
Yes.
It should have been called Rachel Gets Interviewed or whatever. Like.
Yes.
All they are asking the most provocative questions that anybody who cares about Scandival would ask her, and she's just answering questions.
Yeah, it's like Bethany 2.0. Yeah, I don't know who this person is. It's essentially she just reviews and recaps the origin of her and Tom hooking up, goes into great detail. It's very salacious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're just exploiting yourself in a different format. At this rate, you should have just gone back on the show, gotten your 250K or whatever it was. Like, you're not doing like a self-help podcast. You're telling us like where you had sex, if Ariana was home while you made out in the pool. Like, it's down and dirty.
I concur with that. I really feel like iHeart took advantage of Rachel.
Yeah.
Because, and even if they didn't, and there's more, like behind the scenes stuff that led into this, the way she said it was like, I didn't want to do this. I almost just completely
No, she said she almost bailed the day before.
And then she's like, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about here. And then the producers just go, so when did you first hook up with, they didn't say it like that, but it's like, you just are letting iHeart producers create a very provocative podcast with you answering questions for them.
Right. And she keeps like, they'll get into the details of like when they hooked up, like how long it went on, where they hooked up, like blah, blah, blah. And then every time she says something, the producer goes, we'll get into that on further episodes. I'm like, so that's the premise of this podcast, is us talking about their affair for weeks and weeks.
Another criticism is, how will this format be sustainable? Rachel is just going to answer questions for the remaining episodes until she just has talked about every single aspect of this. It's like, you should have established what the format is immediately. If it's going to become a self-help podcast, the first episode has to reflect what this is going to be, because nobody has any idea what the fuck this is.
No,
and it's not sustainable.
No. And I'm like, I don't think I can listen to it again, even though part of me is curious to see if it turns into anything. Like, I'm like morbidly curious of just where they take it. Not that I'm desperate for the information, because we already knew most of it, which I'm also like, girl, why are you trying to piss people off again? She reveals that they went out to the Abbey or whatever. Mm-hmm. She drove him home. He was locked out.
Yeah.
They went around the back to try and get in around the back. He goes, you know what's the best thing about my pool? It's heated. And they swim in their underwear while Ariana's sleeping.
Yeah.
They make out in the pool. Tom freaks out because he's like, oh God, what do I do? What have we done? And she's like, this is awkward. I don't want to talk about this here. Let's go back in my car. And they fuck in her car.
Right. It's so wild. I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to ask you what you thought about this story.
I just did a speed timeline.
No, that was amazing. To me, I mean, there's a lot of merit to hearing that. I mean, totally. I had not heard all of those
like
details.
The bits and pieces.
Yeah, but I loved hearing the full timeline. That is how they had sex the first time ever after
in her
flirting
car,
with
presumably just like parked on his block.
What if Ariana had woken up from some nightmare, at 3 a.m. and peeked out of her blinds in the back and seen Rachel and Tom making out in her pool?
She was literally like, me. Honk shoot.
Also,
in her sleeping cap.
Yeah, exactly. Someone was like, why didn't Tom Sandoval have his keys? And that's a detail
He's
that
like
I didn't even think about. Like, what? Yeah,
I was like, he probably gets locked out constantly.
I mean, there's a lot of questions.
They also strike me as a keyless entry household.
I know.
I'm surprised they don't have
I just thought
code.
like, oh shit, I can't get in. Was that a tactic of him? His, like, just to get her in the pool or
I know,
whatever?
and she was like, she gave every detail. She was like, and I was like, do you have towels? And he was like, yeah, we have towels on the side of the house. I was like, why are you including this?
I'll take it. I love details like that. I love knowing that Tom Sandoval and her talked about where the towels were after they got done swimming in the pool. I love that she said I played music and Tom Sandoval told me to turn it off.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love getting the details.
Paints a
of
picture.
the paint. I got a picture painted.
Which
by,
again, I'm basically like, you are just giving us spoken word Vanderpump Rules. Like
Yeah.
you are just giving us what we didn't see.
Your main what you said, which I just blew past, is so right. If you were gonna do this, Rachel, and let iHeart give you money based off you having a provocative podcast where you answer everything in your own words, you really could have done this on Vanderpump Rules. They would have given you the leeway to tell your story. I know you have trouble articulating yourself or whatever, you have a hard time and you didn't think your story could come across well, but I feel like that would have been the better outlet, because now you look like this outsider figure that no one has to listen to. But if she would have been on Vanderpump Rules, she had a way better chance of getting her story told. And these details to me add nuance to the black and white characterization we have of Sandoval and her.
Right.
This added more. I mean, the James shit is to me the most interesting stuff.
Right. Yeah, she goes into big detail about the dog.
Yes.
A lot of it we already knew.
Well, I didn't know, or I forgot. Everyone says, we already knew that. And I'm like, okay, I guess I knew it. But hearing it again, that rescue after the dog, after Graham Cracker, hippie, was biting everyone in his path. Biting everyone.
Yeah.
He was like, here, you can have him. And he bit that person.
Yeah.
They microchipped and saw that Rachel Leviss was the owner. They said, would it be amazing if we contacted Vanderpump Dogs, because she's a former cast member, and gave this dog to Lisa to see what she wants to do with it? I have to say,
Put them on the show.
Yes, but I have to say, is that ethical?
Right.
Is it ethical? I know a lot of people say whatever was best for Graham Cracker, and now he's having the best life. That could have been a superhero moment. Like, I'll give you, I can imagine a world where that is like the best thing they've ever done, because now Hippie is living the life of leisure and luxury and fun. But is it ethical for them at the time, not knowing this was going to be the outcome, to find out who the person was, which they had a rule. They even signed a rule saying we would not out the celebrity that gave us this dog, to then contact someone who shares the show that they're on.
Right.
That could potentially end up being a storyline and give Graham Cracker back to the person that Rachel says mistreats him.
Right.
That's her, allegedly. That's her characterization of him.
Yeah. I've heard, like, she mentioned also that, like, maybe they were originally reaching out to Lisa for a donation. Like, that was at least their guise.
Oh, hey, just so you know, there's something interesting going on here at our rescue.
I'm very curious what their total logic was, but I also am very curious about whether or not there's any truth to James being a bad dog owner, because that would be very important for me to know.
Where does your heart lie on that matter?
I don't know. Because, I mean, he outwardly, as we discussed last week, is an animal lover. I think, in my opinion, you asked me.
I want your
Riley's
opinion.
face is turning.
We talked about this last week, and I didn't get a lot of blowback, so I'm fine pursuing this more actively. When did we know James?
You think he's hashtag animal cruelty?
No, absolutely not. Never in my life would I have ever said that. Ever in my life. Don't ever clip this and make it seem like I said yes to that. No, I don't. But hashtag animal lover, I didn't know him and Lala shared this this affinity that is one of the cornerstones of their personality. I didn't know that about you. I'm sorry if James has been actively saying all along that he is passionate about. I just watched.
Well, I just remember. Sorry.
No. I was just saying, like, I did not know that was a cornerstone of his personality, and I have to say, it's now I'm like
just
in a position. Okay. I don't think everything Rachel is saying on her podcast is a lie. I believe that there were instances where James Kennedy, whether he was drunk off his goddamn ass or not, might have mistreated Graham Cracker in Rachel's eyes. Can we at least allow for that reality.
I'm sure there's something there. I just we know it's kind of like a child like a custody court case or
Yes.
something where it's like Anatomy of a Fall.
Yes.
Where it's like
Rashomon.
yeah, exactly. So when under Rachel's care, Graham was injured and
True.
she was very shady about what happened.
Yeah.
He got out in a questionable manner. Like, what was she doing?
True. Yes.
James was extremely upset about that in what I could only see in an honest way. He got like extremely emotional. It didn't feel showy to me. It felt like
You're right.
he like imploded. He
You're
was
right.
so upset about it. So that was the first time I was like, whoa, he like is really sensitive about animals, whether or not that means he's always a perfect owner, maybe not. But then like all the drama of like, because we all during this graham cracker hippie thing started to scrutinize like, did she bring him over to Tom and Ariana's house? Was that bite from their dog when, you know, she was out and about doing shit with Tom? Where was the dog? You know,
Yes.
there's question marks. And then
Yeah.
obviously he got left with her family while she was at rehab or whatever, which is fine. I tend to think, obviously, if they keep toting this dog around who's like anxious and fucked up and he keeps getting moved from home to home, like, yeah, he's gonna like bite every new place he goes because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Like, he's been in like a very stressful situation.
Yeah. Someone on TikTok rightfully said, which it negates everything I've been saying, which is that Rachel gave up her right to care about where Graham Cracker ended up based on what she did.
Yeah.
And even though it was worst case scenario for Hippie to get back on Vanderpump Rules as a full-time cast member, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because
she literally
Rachel
signed off.
So that almost is like, okay, end of discussion, and
Right.
I accept that reality. But just to hear Rachel talk about James when we have this number one guy in the group, new philosophy, which I don't, which we talked about last week. It's just, I appreciate Rachel being candid, and I think she's being 90% honest when she talks about these things.
Yeah. She kind of implied that there's things she wasn't saying, which I was kind of afraid of. But mainly, she had previously said that James likes getting bitten by the dog.
Yeah.
I think she said that again, which is weird, and I need more details. She said that when he would go into a blind drunken rage, Graham would hide under the couch, which was a very sad image.
Yeah. No, I know that's, I mean, is that a fact that you dispute? That he would
I believe that.
Yeah. I'm just saying those are the kind of things where I'm just like,
ultimately, maybe neither of you needed to have a fucking dog at that time. Like, I take having a dog. I'm 35 years old, and I still don't have a dog because I'm not ready.
Yeah, I have 2 of those creatures, and it impacts your life in every way, and it affects every decision you make. And
it's at least halfway to a child, I say.
Yeah, and every hour that you're out of the house, you think about them and who takes care of them and everything. So you're probably right that Rachel, where she was in her life, was just the worst time to have a dog, and she did something semi-irresponsible by letting Graham Cracker just go throughout the rescue process without her actively being involved in this decision. And then it could have ended up possibly with Graham being euthanized.
Right.
And now this could be best case scenario, and maybe James, I'm ending on a happy ending. James has worked through his biting issues, and now he doesn't like to be bitten as much. Or maybe Allie looked at him and goes, hey, James, I think that's not how we interact with Hippie now, just so you know. And could be best case scenario. And obviously for Hippie, this is best case scenario.
Totally.
So
I mean, Allie, I do trust.
I trust Allie too. I trust Allie fully. And
Cat
Allie,
mama.
What'd you say?
She has kitties.
True. So all this to say, I let some new shading come in by what Rachel gave me, but ultimately I think she does not have the right now to criticize where Hippie ended up, and it could possibly be a full-blown happy ending that we'll love to see on the show.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. I'm like, I know that dogs get put down for various reasons. I feel like that seems like illegal.
I agree. I thought it's awful. Like Like, it's like this dog is irredeemable. There is no environment that this dog could ever have a life.
Like, I understand if you like bit a baby's face off or something, but like, I'm like, he bit Rachel's mom. She'll get over it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously looked horrible, what the bite or whatever, but it's like, isn't there any like ranch in Montana that is filled with all the worst dogs in the world?
Yeah.
And there's this one rancher guy who's the meanest man in the world, but he loves dogs so much, even if they're so evil, and they all get to live
like
in a big
Bronco Buster.
He's a Bronco Buster for bad dogs.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
isn't
she
there...
was shading Lisa for claiming she has a ranch. Oh, she did. We didn't bring up multiple times Rachel did a LVP impression, which I can't do an impression of her impression. It was horrendous.
It's like when I try to do it on Patreon. You can't imagine a worse Lisa. She has such a characteristic voice. You do a good Lisa. Rachel's was very bad.
It's worth listening to her podcast just to hear that impression. Yeah. It's kind of incredible. But she said that Lisa was like, if we can't place Graham, he'll live out the rest of his days on my ranch. And Rachel was like, you don't have a ranch. And I'm like, I think she meant Villa Rosa.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's semantics, right? Ranch. Yeah. What did you think about when she again said how Lisa wanted to have the Rachel scene happen when she texted her? What do you think about that?
Yeah, she felt like Lisa was trying to bamboozle her, and she was like, I want you to come explain to me why you left Sir so abruptly. And I'm like, it all comes back to like, ultimately Lisa's like, if you stop working at Sir without notice, that's the thing I will take to my grave.
I think, yeah, of course. I think Lisa is such a good producer, obviously, and she's so producer minded, and that's why all of the shows she's on are great for the most part. But that scene would have been very bad. That would have been on the cutting room floor if Rachel showed up with a huge bouquet and go, Lisa, I'm so sorry for how I left Sir. I know I clocked out one day and never came back, but you have to understand there was a lot going on. That scene would be so bad.
Yeah. Can you imagine though? But you can just imagine.
You're right though. I think if, like you said, and it struck me ever since you said it, I think Rachel would have had a much better chance just going on the Vanderpump Rules season 11 trajectory and letting the world have their view of her potentially changed by what she said and her interactions with the cast member. I feel like that would be almost the same thing that she's doing now, except it would be, I think, more possible for her to have a good ending. Yeah. Based on, like I think people are waiting, potentially would have been waiting for Rachel's side.
Right. And at least she has history with those producers, which whether or not she trusts those people, I don't know why she wouldn't. They didn't do anything to her.
Well, I don't know. She did say that the producers were like, hey, Rachel, this would be a really good time to start filming. They're all in Lake Tahoe having a really fun time. I think you'd really like to be on the show now. And then she said that's when she found out that Graham Cracker was there. So she would have showed up to Lake Tahoe and seen Lisa giving hippie to James.
That sounds good. But it's like now she has to reacquaint herself with a new group of Vulture producers that have like new intentions. You're right.
And maybe different ethics and different standards. And like, this is not for the long haul. I mean, I think we can almost
like
predict.
Bravo kind of has to watch their ass a little bit now about the ethics of the way they approach things.
They do.
So I feel like she would be in better hands, but
we saw the producers at the Vanderpump BravoCon for Vanderpump Rules, and I have to say there was not a hint of evil.
No, they were respectable human beings. And again, I've said it before, people that participate in these shows are grown adults that know what they're doing. Rachel might be the rare exception of someone who doesn't understand the game, but they work in partnership with the producers.
I would have helped. I mean, you and I, like this, this could have all been avoided if Rachel, if you're watching Turtle Time, you should have just called Amy and I I want you to DM me on Instagram or DM Turtle Time. You should have called us the minute Vanderpump Rules started. I would have first said, the minute you got the contract, I would have said, you're not going to make as much as Ariana and Tom. I don't know what you're thinking. That would screw up all of the rates for all future cast members. You can't have that. Season 11 is the only way you're going to get your story heard in the avenue that it was first presented to the world. This is your only chance for salvation. Call me every day after filming, and I'll tell you how to me and Amy, to strategically run through this if you don't feel like you have anyone you can trust on the show. And I feel like we could have helped. So I'm
Liaison.
sorry. So Vanderpump Rules season 12.
Yes.
Right? Because she could... I mean,
come back around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One season, I mean, one season they're going to be talking about her a lot, but season 12, I mean, she could still come back.
It's true.
Cool.
All right.
1 hour.
Just 1 hour. I'm ready for a certified turtle piss break.
Okay.
And then we'll enter Salt Lake Reunion Part 1.
Salt Lake Reunion. Yeah, let's piss our brains out and then come back.
Great.
We're back.
Hi.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake Part 1 out of 3.
3-parter.
Yes.
The sign of true quality, right?
Hopefully. Sometimes they're too long.
I agree. They became the standard very quickly after it was unprecedented. Then all of a sudden it was like 3 parts. Now basically means a good to excellent season, and 2 parts is basically like, whoa, we need to retool.
Yeah.
Was Roni was 2 parts, right? It couldn't have been 1 part. So, I mean, if Roni got 2 parts,
Yeah,
you know that Southern Charm is only 2 parts?
it is.
Yeah.
Well, probably because they've been talking about the same thing the whole time. So it's like, what is there left to parse?
Yeah. But so do you think that's I'm sorry, but do you think that's indicative of Southern Charm's quality?
No, I don't really like.
You don't
If
use that
anything, I'm
barometer?
like, they do 3 too easily.
I think so too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can get it in 2, why not go for 2?
Yeah.
And we shouldn't
Relieve
have,
us.
Relieve us. And we shouldn't have this this what is that called? We shouldn't have this thought that 3 parts reflects an amazing season.
Yeah. I mean, I understand for this why they would milk it because it's been such a huge
Yeah.
thing. Like maybe without reality Von Tease, it would have only been 2.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I guess this is a good time to ask, what would this season have been without Monica?
I mean, she brought the fire even without reality Von Tease.
Yeah.
It would have been a good season even without that. That was on literally the last episode.
Right. Reality Von Tease was like an added bonus to the Monica arc, but
Yeah.
Monica alone is, well, I don't want to say alone, but Monica is maybe a huge factor in why season 4 was amazing.
Yeah.
And if she had been removed and only Angie K had been hired, I mean, I don't know how well we would regard this
Right.
season.
Right.
It would have been a lot of Whitney's horrible feuds that she starts with everyone that were complete garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Angie K would have gone after Meredith, which I think is not very entertaining
Yeah.
at all. Like, I don't really know. I guess it sucks for the cast of Salt Lake City that they had a new cast member come in right after Jen Shaw when they were going to have to prove themselves on their own, to then have a new cast member bring the fire and make this one of the best seasons, because they still haven't been judged on their own merits without a huge explosive event happening.
Right. Yeah. I still don't know if they will be able to bring her back.
Okay, I think I was so sure of myself, and I've been wrong 100 times on Turtle Time. Anytime I have a really strong reaction to something, I'm like wrong for the most part. I was so sure, but the way Monica is handling herself post finale in the real world, it's like she's sabotaging herself to where I don't know if she heard already that she can't come back because she like lied to producers or she burned some
Right.
bridges, because she's acting like she's not coming back.
Right. Yeah.
Unless that's to tease us.
It's weird because, yeah, my first impression was first that Andy's being way nicer to her than I thought he was going to be. Like, he's treating her, I didn't think he was going to like give her the cold shoulder, but he's giving her like total kindness.
Why did
and
you
like,
think he would give her the
I don't know.
cold
I thought he'd
shoulder?
give her some attitude about like lying or like kind of treating her a little bit like a villain, or like that what she did was outrageous, but he's being like very kind to her. Like,
Well, I think he's reacting to her like we are, where it's like if the reality Von Tease reveal hadn't happened, you're still giving her so much credit for how
Sure.
beneficial her presence was on this season.
but it's like he's not like acting towards her that she's like he's fired up and like
No.
this is spicy. He's being like nice and like talking about like her family and like just like giving her kindness. And then all of her answers to him are very like shrug, like, and then I mean we'll get into it, but it definitely felt like self-sabotage when she says that she auditioned for the show because would she say the show sucked and the ratings were a flop or whatever?
Yeah, she said, "You need me because you're show sucks and your ratings are pure shit or whatever.
Yeah, and it was going to get canceled. And Andy goes,
Andy goes, did the show suck and the ratings were shit or whatever? It was.
I was like, why would you say that in front of Andy?
So why?
You know he cares about that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. He hates when people insult. He hates when people call into question anything about production. He hates when they throw producers under the bus. He hates anything like that. So her saying that was awful to say. But why is Monica acting as if she won't be back and burning all these bridges and talking about all the behind-the-scenes garbage that Bravo hates, when if I was betting, I would say absolutely she would come back? Why? Why is she doing all this horrible shit to make her chances of coming back not good?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. She's acting very put upon and like betrayed or something.
Is she?
I don't know if just like, I don't know. I felt like the whole time she was sitting very like smug.
I don't like her smugness. So I thought Monica overall did a great job in this part. Just overall like being calm and having good I don't know. I mean, I guess they're called insults, but good. Mm-hmm. She was handling herself very well, right, for someone who has been fully vilified and everyone hates. There's been a lot of people that have been in this position before, and I don't think they've handled themselves as well as Monica did. You can still see her strong personality shining through at this reunion. She's doing a good job. And
she earned that hot seat.
Yes.
Do you think she would have been in that seat without Reality Von Teese?
Yeah.
You do?
I really do. I think Reality Von Teese was just icing on the cake to an amazing Monica season, regardless of what she did. It was just like she brought even an extra amount of conflict at the very end. After
a first season participant almost never gets the first seat.
Yeah, people were like highlighting some like very powerful first season cast members. Kenya was one. Okay. Brandy was one. Like people who just like shined immediately, and Monica has to be in that category.
I liked, so one of the highlights to me was she said that she was saying that she auditioned for the show just like everyone else, and everyone else was like, I was recommended, I was referred, like I'm the one that brought the show to Salt Lake. And she's like, I emailed it was like casting@bravo.com or whatever.
I mean, go ahead, but I have questions. But
and they were all saying that she schemed her way on. She was like, I literally emailed, and Andy was like, what did you email? And that's when she was like, I said that your show is shit, like the ratings are flop and it's going to get canceled. And then they go, Monica's actual email. And it was like, hi, reaching out in regards to your casting call. I would love more info on what needs to be done or how to move forward. You guys need a feisty, excommunicated Latina on the show immediately. I'm your girl.
Right.
There's like 10 exclamation points. I was like, there was not a drop of attitude in that email.
Absolutely not. It was a full lie. And now I can say we already knew Monica was a liar. Like that's one of her main characteristics now, that she lies.
Yeah.
And you can't believe anything she says. And this was an easy one to not lie about. To just say, I reached out to casting and sent a normal, nice email or whatever. I emailed casting. She did not have to say specifically that she put down the show to get on it. And then you see this.
She's like trying to be an agent of chaos.
Yeah. And it's a nice email. I mean, the minute I heard that, I was like, wait, you wouldn't really insult the show to casting, because they would be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I am not putting this person on the show that like criticized our work.
What would you do as a casting director if you got an email that was like, your show's a piece of shit, you need me on it?
I would say, fuck off, never email me again. No, I'm just saying I would just not respond to it. But also it was like kind of bad. Like if I was getting that as an email, like I don't know, I would include a reel or you talking to the camera, like a video file and like photos of you. I wouldn't be so enticed by just being, okay, a feisty, excommunicated Latina. That's the only information she actually gave about herself.
Right. But that almost seemed like a second email, because
you're right.
She was saying like, what are next steps? So I feel like there had to have been an original
I don't know. It
email.
sounded like first to me. Reaching out in regards to your casting call. Would love more information on what needs to be done.
That's true.
On how to move forward. I felt like it's a good email. And I guess I would probably have said, yeah, I'll look into you as a potential cast member.
Right. What she needed to put was like, I worked for Jen Shaw. Is that interesting to you?
Is that at all of interest to you, that I was one of the people that called the feds on Jen Shaw? And then, so in addition to that, of her lying about how she got on the show, she also lies about her intentions on why she was working with Jen Shah. She will not clearly state that the reason why she started to work with Jen Shah was because Jen Shah was filming season 1 and she wanted to be on Salt Lake City more than anything in the world. She cannot admit that.
Yeah, why is she lying through her teeth like this? Like, she said that she worked for free for Jen Shah.
So she was like, and I was her friend, and this is what friends do. Friends act as an unpaid intern and do all of the work for their friend when she does have, I mean, someone said it. It's like, Andy said it. It's like, you left your 4 kids to go work at a place every single day that didn't pay you?
I know. He was like, why? And then Heather tried to, catch her in a lie and was like, so it wasn't because you wanted to be like Kim Kardashian, who started as an assistant or whatever? And she goes, no. And then she's like, where is this audio coming from? There's so many, like,
Tanisha.
Okay. She's just, everyone is secretly, her and Tanisha are secretly recording everyone at all times.
Yeah. I mean, so
they live in hell.
It's a den of vipers, like we talked about. It's a den of vipers. Tanisha and Monica were just waiting for the day that they could throw each other under the bus for this Reality Von Tease account. Tanisha, the minute there was even a whiff that Heather got of Monica's origin, Tanisha was like, she's the worst person in the world. Here's everything she's ever said about you.
This is like the end of Sopranos. Like, everyone is like wearing a wire. Everyone's like, can't trust anyone.
Carlos flipped. You're like, who the hell is Carlos? No, exactly that. So Tanisha sent immediately. This is all the shit that's happened after the finale. Tanisha sent every audio recording she had to Heather. Heather teed that up again. Amazingly, we're being like using her own words that she had recorded against her, and then Monica has no idea what the hell she said. She's probably said a million things to Tanisha.
Yeah.
Never in her wildest dreams did you think she would have that exact quote quoted back to her. And it's like, just so you know, Kim, you know who else started out as an assistant? Kim Kardashian, and I want to be just like her. I'm starting out,
which also like isn't incriminating.
No. Wait, no.
To say that, look, like Kim Kardashian started as an assistant and look at her now.
Well,
I'm like, that's not salacious.
Right, but
just admit it.
Nothing is lamer than saying you always wanted to be on the show. Like, nothing is lamer than, but then all of that is completely deflated because she says, I emailed casting. I wanted to be on the show.
She goes, why wouldn't I want to be on the show?
Right. It's like, okay, then just state your full intentions. Obviously, some part of working with Jen Shah was about having residual attention about the show being filmed around you. That's why you did it.
Right.
And then when you discovered Jen Shah was a monster and you saw what shady shit she was doing, you turned into a spy, a rat. She's a rat.
Yeah.
If Tony Soprano had her and his crew, she would be, I'm not even going to say it. I will not.
She'd be with Big Pussy.
Yeah. Yes. She would share a similar fate with Big Pussy. She is a rat, and Angie calls her a rat, and I'm almost like, you're a rat because you would have probably ratted out what the Salt Lake City cast in season 4 were doing behind the scenes. Like, if you ever hated Heather at season 4 and you would have had a fight about something else, you would have been the person to use some behind the scenes footage to get Heather to some incriminating shit about Heather, just like they said Jen Shah did. Yeah, about her. And then also she's a rat in terms of she's an actual rat in Jen Shah's camp in the old definition of what that means. In like the mafia language, she's a rat.
Yeah. I watched it on regular TV and then I casually watched it on Peacock.
Me too.
There was like, I always get so confused when I rewatch the like unedited extended or whatever, because I'm like, did I just not see any of this? Because the whole introduction on the Peacock version was like a huge chunk about Jen Shah. Yeah. And I was like, that wasn't on the regular episode, right? Like, I'm not forgetting.
It wasn't. And it was valuable because Heather and Lisa and Meredith talk about the power that Jen Shah had over them. And Heather specifically says, I think Jen Shah is guilty, but she never stopped proclaiming her innocence until she pled guilty on the stand, and they found out in the news that she had pled guilty.
Right, like she literally was like walking to the car to go to court and was like, I'm not guilty.
and still said, I pled guilty because that's the best deal I can get, which I have found out in my time on Earth that no one pleads guilty to get a better deal if they
Right.
didn't actually do it. Why would you?
Yeah.
If you specifically are innocent of charges and you know that in some way it could be found out that you are innocent, why would you ever plead guilty, even for the best deal in the world?
Right.
It's just a thing that guilty people say to have reasonable doubt. You
Right.
shouldn't be allowed to say you're not guilty if you've pled guilty. You shouldn't be allowed to
Yeah.
say in any form ever. It should be an additional charge for you to say, oh, actually, I pled guilty because the charges were better. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you definitively have said you're guilty. You're guilty of this.
It's like how Gypsy Rose has to maintain that murder is wrong.
She says it everywhere she goes now.
Because yeah, I don't think they could throw her back in, but it's like kind of like parole,
Yeah.
where you're like have to be like, I am a good citizen and I will not commit any more crimes. I acknowledge that what I did was illegal and wrong.
yeah, I agree. Man, yeah, Gypsy Rose kind of faded a little bit from
Yeah.
pop culture the last week.
She got her hair done, I saw.
That was awesome. She presented an award at the Emmys.
Did she? The thing is, like, I believe you.
Right? It's like, why wouldn't she? She's
The
done
line is
everything else.
extremely blurred.
Yeah. But no,
Has she been on NV Pod yet?
Not yet.
Because
I
we
think-
should listen to
Oh, we have to. Let's do it. Let's do like a special 30-minute episode of Gypsy on that.
Oh yeah, we should. Also, I recorded the entire like Gypsy Rose after Behind Bars or whatever, so I kind of want to watch that.
You haven't watched it yet?
Not yet. I
Okay.
recorded it though.
So the Monica stuff is, I want to say generally that because the Monica stuff is so, the main thing of the season, the fact
Yeah.
that part one only dips into Monica and then dips back into like Meredith versus Angie.
Right.
It's hard to really say this is an amazing part
Right.
because we just are not getting the full story.
Right.
We got little glimpses of Monica.
It was
and
like a taste.
it's a taste, but really, we're all waiting for part 2 and part 3.
Yeah.
Mostly part 3 is when they're going
Right.
to put all the Monica shit in there.
Yeah, they sort of touched on her affair with her. I'm sorry, I still get confused. It's
I know.
her brother. No,
Her. Oh my gosh. My Megan is going to be so mad at me because she tells me every minute what the actual relationship is.
Brother-in-law.
She had sex with her husband's sister's husband. So it's not
her husband's brother-in-law.
Yeah, her husband's brother-in-law. So there's a little bit of, Andy even says like, oh, that's a little better.
Right, like
And also though,
everyone. I think a lot of people think it was her brother-in-law.
yeah, no, it was the brother-in-law of her husband's sister.
That's
Sorry,
like-
the
yeah.
husband of her brother's
That's
sister.
a bit removed. I'm
It's
trying to
still
think who.
bad.
So it would be like if Kyle Richards
Kyle Richards
cheated on Mauricio with.
Well, do we know
I
Mauricio's
ran out of-
sister?
I ran out of
I was like,
options immediately.
What family member are you going to point to on Mauricio's side? Is there any real world? We don't know a lot of siblings, so I don't know. We'll think of an analogy.
Maybe Southern Charm or something. But anyways, yeah, I need like a real world example, but I think I get it.
Well, yeah,
It's just
I mean,
confusing.
what is one? Are there any? Yeah, there's those because you said Kyle Richards, which are siblings, but we don't know anything about any of the other ones. It'd be if Kyle Richards. No, it wouldn't. It's still okay. All right, whatever. Okay. Also, what I think is a interesting detail, which I don't think a lot of people care about, but the fact that it was a decade ago and that they like got over this and they didn't divorce specifically after it, also
Right.
puts it more in the past than I thought. When she brought it up, which the reason she brought it up is because she knew it'd be a salacious detail about her past
Right.
and generate a lot of controversy. It was more in the past than I imagined, and she didn't really share that specifically that it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Do you think that has any impact on it happening?
No, I feel like it was her main way in to connect with the other women that had left the church.
Right.
Like it kind of just like put her. It was a good like check mark for why she would be on the show besides the Jen Shaw of it all.
Yes.
And that, like she too was like an ex-Mormon, you know. So it, whatever. It made sense.
So I want to say one thing about, they have this like feud montage where they like, I don't know why they did this, because it was like the whole season's worth of feuds. Maybe they just wanted to like get that out of the way, but all of the feuds involved Whitney. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was like Meredith and Whitney, Lisa and Whitney,
Right.
Heather and Whitney, and almost all of those feuds were Whitney generated feuds. And all of them, for the most part, were full flops. You could include the Bad Mormon feud in there. You can include Whitney saying that Lisa didn't give her enough attention at Meredith's jewelry party. And so I just wanted to say, overall, Whitney's season-long attempt to stir up shit was a full fail. Yeah. Every single episode. And we even forget some. She tried to criticize Meredith and Lisa for not getting into drag personas at in Palm Springs and made it that such a bigger deal than actually was. Like, Whitney's role on the show, she feels, is to stir up as much shit as she can, no matter how stupid or bad it will look.
Did you notice, I'm more on high alert, but one of the questions from Twitter was from Ira Madison, the third of Keep It fame. And he said, Whitney definitely used Monica to bring up that rumor. She's in her villain era. Yes. And I was like, thank you, Ira.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And then getting into that. So I just thought it was remarkable that Whitney is the source of all bad feuds on season 4. Like, that just has to be stated.
She's just full of shit.
Yeah, when people make the record of season 4 and they're putting like the highlights of it, everyone should say Whitney started a bunch of garbage that never panned out and it all sucked. Everything she tried to stir up. And then specifically, I don't know, when you watch this on the extended edition, but so there was one of my favorite moments this season was how Whitney reacted when Lisa came to Meredith's party after Whitney's friend had died. And Lisa gives a gift to Heather first before acknowledging Whitney's friend died. And it was like, you gave Heather a gift before you hugged me and consoled me about my friend who died. And Whitney went off on Lisa, calling her a self-absorbed, narcissistic person, that she's never there for her. It was a huge deal. Lisa freaked out and got really upset that her character was being called into question. And then when you watch this, you find out that they edited around the reality of this scene. Lisa did go up to Whitney at that event and specifically said, Whitney, are you okay? Yeah. I'm so sorry. This is so surreal. I can't even imagine how you're feeling. I'm so sorry. What do you need from me? Lisa did everything she needed to do in that instance to help Whitney out and console her. And then Lisa goes, and then in Bermuda, you told me that I actually checked on you too many times and that I was too there for you. And Whitney goes, yeah, I felt like I was being antagonized into not feeling okay. And they edited that part out too. Right. So I feel like Whitney's feud was so bad and stupid and fake that they had to edit it to make Whitney even have a shred of evidence that she was actually feeling this way. Right. It was even worse than it came off on camera. Right. Whitney will make anything into conflict if she can. Yeah. Which was wild to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that was interesting. I was like, I mean, you could feel like, I felt like that was a hard one to talk about because it was like, I don't want to judge someone whose friend died like the day before or whatever, but I was still like, felt like she was stirring shit up in that episode.
No, yeah, I did. I felt like
with what little we saw.
Right. Yeah. No, I felt the same way. I knew, at the time, I thought Whitney was overreacting to Lisa not consoling her, and there was all this evidence that Lisa sent her flowers or whatever. But to find out that she actually went above and beyond, and the above and beyond part is what pissed Whitney off, is ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Also, did you note that Justin has turned his wedding ring into a ring on a string?
I loved hearing that. I instantly thought of one of my favorite characters in all of literature, which is Frodo Baggins. If you're ever thinking about rings on a string, you have to put Frodo in the conversation. And who else now can we say? Tom Schwartz.
I was like, Gollum?
Bilbo? Did Gandalf have a ring on a string? No, I was thinking on Patreon, the timing of this could not be more perfect. We're in a ring on a string era, Amy and I, because we're going back to season 3 of Vanderpump Rules on Patreon. And we just watched Ring on a String.
Sheena's wedding episode part 2 is literally called Ring on a String.
Yeah, and I never knew that when Tom Schwartz presented the ring to Katie, he said, you're going to look like Frodo from Lord of the Rings when you wear this. And Katie actually ended up being very happy about the ring on the string. Yeah. So you're right. Justin, his ring, unfortunately, does not fit his fingers. This is what Whitney said. Yeah. She said he's a big man, and that's why he wasn't wearing the ring. Yes. So we got a little more. And also, I think she kind of tried to deflate that they were having huge issues in their marriage once the scrutiny was on it. She was kind of like, yeah, we were just going through stuff, but it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, she's like, we're much better. I also noted that there was an a commercial during this that showed that Bravo's doing a Vanderpump Rules every episode ever marathon.
Whoa.
Which, if you're listening to this on Friday, today. So if you put your TV on Bravo right now,
it'll
be on.
Is it going to be a marathon like until they run out? Like it's just every single...
I mean, how many days is that going to take? I mean, I guess if it's 24 hours.
How will Bravo be able to just air Vanderpump Rules content for... Would it be like... How many hours is that? 10 seasons of 20 episodes?
22 times 10?
For the love of God, don't make me answer.
220 hours. It'll probably be a little more, give or take. So how many days is that?
You know what?
Is that 10 days?
Let me get back to... Yeah, so what? Is one Bravo channel just going to be fully dedicated to airing Vanderpump Rules in its entirety?
I need to look at the guide.
Me too. Yeah. And I just want to say, to end that Whitney conversation, has there ever been a bigger, like, drama flop or stirring up shit flop than the Bad Mormon shit that she tried to bring up?
No.
Where Heather specifically said, I read you this and you knew everything that was in my book, so why are we talking about this?
Yeah, it sucked. I do like, because it's a different topic, but when Andy does an impression of Meredith's rumors and nastiness.
Did you like that?
It was fun.
I actually thought it was kind of bad.
Like, lame.
I just thought I don't know. I just wouldn't have gone all in if I didn't have it exactly. And he did it multiple times, and he did the husbands thing. I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. Not the best.
And then she does it too.
Yeah.
Because she has like a transcript.
Yeah. Andy, to talk about Meredith for a second, she gets kind of off the hook on when she brought up the rumors and nastiness about the husband, because Andy says, weren't you just trying to tee that up, that you knew a rumor about Sean, so the group would run with it? And she goes, absolutely not. But he didn't specifically ask Meredith, what was the rumor about Sean that you wanted to say?
Yeah.
Why did he not ask that?
Yeah, she keeps saying, there can be a rumor that's not about their marriage. She says that like 3 times, and it's like, okay, so what are you saying? Like, is it about business? Is it about, like, is he a killer?
Yeah, and then Andy goes, let's go global here for a second. Like, whatever. And then he just doesn't ask specifically what it was.
Yeah.
And I think I think 100% that was the rumor she was alluding to.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
What else? What rumors and nastiness about the husband could she mean that doesn't impact the marriage, that's only about him?
Unless she was just bluffing.
I mean, she said husband.
I know, but like maybe she was like, if you want to talk about the husband, like, I feel like that's kind of maybe just like a low blow kind of a thing. Like, if you want, we can talk about the husband.
I don't know. That would be very bold to just drunkenly bring up that you knew some rumor about something about Angie's life and specifically say husband and then have nothing to back it up.
The real tea that Kim Richards was talking about Harry Hamlin. If you want to talk about the husband.
Kim, oh man, I guess they're both the exact same scenario.
You want to talk about the husband?
Yeah, Kim did it first.
Don't you ever talk about my husband.
Do you think Lisa Rinna's reaction was overblown for the camera, or do you think when someone talks about her husband, she wants to kill them with glass?
Maybe both.
Really? You thought it was a little heightened for television?
Maybe a little bit. I do think Kim really pissed her off at that time.
Yeah.
Like, they were all kind of like triggered by Kim.
Really brought it at that dinner. That was the Amsterdam dinner.
Yeah.
And that was when Kyle Richards, you can see her and she's
fled
running
away
for
in her cape. It makes me scream laughing every time I watch it. I never get tired of that.
I need to
She
rewatch
just
it.
flees the scene. She can't deal.
Is that the same trip that Brandy slaps Lisa in the face?
Yeah.
What a trip.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's good.
That was, oh my God. Lisa's face when Brandy slaps her is like one of the saddest, most shocking things I've ever seen.
She's like, no, don't you do that.
It's horrible.
Quick aside, I'm still watching Roni like a fiend.
Oh, good. Where are you at?
And I'm on the season 8 reunion,
Hell
I
yeah.
think. And I didn't realize somehow Bethany was back for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I was scrolling through and I was like, why did I think she only came back for like 3 seasons?
4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, oh,
I mean,
okay. So she was on the show most of the time.
Yeah.
She missed a few, but overall.
yeah. I mean, she was on for a long time. Yeah, I still need to go back and rewatch Roni because I want the same journey that you're on right now.
Yeah, I'm in Tell Me It's Not About Tom era.
Oh my God.
It's good.
Amazing.
Okay. Well, are there any other major things? I saw that Mary's going to be on next week, which I mean, what does she have to say? She didn't do shit.
Well, I saw a clip that was really funny where Andy just specifically asks Mary who she likes on the cast. Did you see that?
What did she say?
Mary goes, I like Angie. And Andy goes, oh, okay, you like Angie. Okay, good. She goes, I like Monica because she's pretty. And then she goes, and I love Meredith. And Meredith takes a second, and then Meredith goes, I love you, Mary. Oh. So Meredith and Mary are actually good friends and do love each other, which that's like one of the strangest friendships. I didn't think it was actually real, but I guess it is.
It is very strange.
And then Mary said, I used to like you, Heather, until I saw your horrible comments about my house and calling me that I had Dr. Seuss chairs and saying that I had green carpet with Chanel pillows. So she's really mad at Heather. And Heather goes, well, you know, we all say mean things about each other, and we sort of let your mean comments about us, like, just we set them aside or whatever. And Andy goes, you called her inbred, or that she looked inbred on the show. And Mary goes, I think the house comments were worse. So it's good. It's gonna be good.
She's a nut.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I think we talked about everything that I really wanted to talk about. I mean, the Angie and Meredith stuff. I don't care enough about it. You know.
No. Same.
Okay. All right.
Southern Charm.
Let's do it. The Southern Charm finale. I mean, season 9 finale. Overall, so we're talking about Southern Charm, right? We officially
Yes,
switched.
we've transitioned.
Yeah. What did you think overall about this finale?
I enjoyed it. I didn't expect there to be, I mean, I saw in the preview, but like there was borderline violence.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rare for this show, actually, as Austin pointed out.
Austin said, well, we can just say it right
Yeah.
now. Austin said 10 years of a show and there's never been a physical altercation. And then you come in. First
Little
of all,
JT.
Yeah. JT causes the first violent encounter in Southern Charm's history. It was so interesting to me that Austin had that at the forefront of his brain right after a fight that he knew how long Southern Charm had been on.
Right.
Even though the show took place for 4 years without him.
Right.
He knows that no violence has ever occurred even before him or
Right.
during his time. So he immediately had that fact to point out to JT and broke fourth wall.
Right.
I mean, that's the 10 years he's talking about.
Right. Although watching it back, Austin pushes him, right?
Yeah, Austin.
Like he said that JT headbutted him, but when you watch it, that didn't happen.
JT takes a bob up into the air, and then the second one I do think makes contact with Austin's face a little bit. I watched the scene 3 times because it is filmed horribly.
I feel like it was like after hours. Like it felt like they couldn't get their shit together. Like it felt like
To me, this finale felt a little haphazard. I've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Patricia responded to me and said, that's the worst thing you've ever said. Andy already said that we're ending on a cliffhanger and our reunion is one of the best that Andy has ever seen, and it's all going to get resolved. So she's saying it's basically a 2-parter. Like the finale shouldn't have ended like that, but it was just like the moment they had to end on. But I felt it felt very, like you just said, haphazard and rushed. And I don't know if they specifically thought that this was going to be the finale party or not. I mean, the fact that it was like raining everywhere and there was tarps everywhere, I felt like they really had like the circumstances kind of led to a underwhelming finale. For it to just end with JT headbutting him and Austin in the bushes being consoled by Whitney, it felt a weird finale to me.
Right.
Sort of odd.
Right. I did like that Whitney thrust his interests upon the group and claimed to think that everyone knows the director Russ Meyer, and his reference was like movies such as Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Return of the Valley of the Dolls, which I am aware of because it's always been on my list because Roger Ebert wrote that movie.
I knew that's the one fact I knew about this. So you've never seen it?
No,
Okay,
but I've heard it's kind of like a cult classic.
Okay, I was going to ask you. I didn't know.
I think it's the only movie he's ever written, Roger Ebert.
I know, that's wild.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert just did that, and then he said no
He did
more
that.
writing. He fully did that, and then he didn't want to write ever again.
Yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, it was like I was interested to know Whitney's movie taste, and it's definitely a curveball. I would never have thought he was it's called Valley of the Dolls.
Return of the Valley of the Dolls. It's like a sequel.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he likes that more than the original?
Yeah, I think it's like even more like camp.
And Roger Ebert wrote the sequel to
Mm-hmm.
an established movie? Whoa. So I was thinking if we were looking at Whitney's Letterboxd, that's definitely going in the top 4. We're
Guess so.
sort of piecing
if he
together.
had a whole ass party for it.
Yeah. Did you like the theme?
I mean, if I were to be told to dress a certain way, that would be the way I would be most excited about.
Really?
Yes.
It was sort of, it was like the Austin Powers era, right?
Yeah.
British mod, is that
Yes.
what it was?
Yes.
Did you think everyone committed well to that costume?
The men were testy, but it was better than usual because in Bravo past, anyone delving into the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s have a real hard time parsing the difference between the three, and you get a lot of like disco mixed with, and I feel like people did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
JT looked like Charles Manson,
Right.
which was an interesting time to profess his love when he looked like a little killer
I agree.
in a leather vest.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone basically pulled it together. Paige looked great,
Yeah.
but she leans that style anyways. Olivia, not as well, even though, an Elvis stan you'd think would be like well versed.
Yeah. What do you think was going on
Maybe
there?
she just didn't want to buy new clothes.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
They have so many costumes they have to get for each season. We already saw like a pre-ski thing they had to do. They're probably just like, man, I got to go on Amazon and buy a bunch of shit for this thing. Like,
Yeah.
If
I'm
you're,
just glad people didn't show up in like an afro and like a rainbow, like disco stew outfit. You know?
Okay, so they avoided some of the cliches, but really, I mean, this whole episode is just basically 30 minutes are dedicated to that party.
Yeah.
And I felt like, well, I don't know. Do we want to get in because we're kind of talking high level? Do we
Yeah.
want to like? It sounded like, I mean, this party got like rained out. Like when I was watching it again, I didn't notice how impacted this party was by the rain until the second time I watched. They had like so much space dedicated to like having an outdoor party and having the catering or whatever, and it was just raining.
They had to
way
just
too-
go into that little hobbit hole.
Yeah,
like
the entire time.
Yeah, I would have been heartbroken.
Yeah, it was sad. I felt bad that this season, which I thought has been very good, the criticism you could say is that it was only about one thing, but I still loved being in the Southern Charm universe. And I just felt like all of the universe just like went against them for this finale party to give them sort of a shitty ending. I thought it was kind of a bummer.
Right. While he's getting ready, so Patricia is like relegated to upstairs because she's like in, she's healing. But I loved when she asked her healthcare professional to tell Whitney to bring her peaches.
Yep.
And the guy goes, "Your mom wants some peaches. Can you get that for her?" And you realize that Peaches is a dog.
Yeah.
And he can't catch Peaches, so he brings her Roy the dog instead.
Right. So her healthcare professional thought she meant Peaches, right?
Like a can of peaches.
And then Whitney decoded that, knowing what his mother
He
wanted.
sort of laughed. I was like, that was cute, actually.
And then I was like, why? I was thinking, why does Peaches run away from, Whitney? But then I have to think about production at all times. Peaches saw a gigantic camera following her dad or her,
Brother.
she loves brother, was scared as hell of a camera person, and that's why Peaches ran away. It's like that's not normal Peaches behavior.
Yeah, that was cute. And I also, it happens during the party, but Madison pays her respects and visits Miss Pat upstairs, which I love her respect and reverence for Miss Pat. And, she gave her that little bit of like gossip time and like champagne moment and then went on her merry way. But
sort of like a Sheena and Lisa dynamic where the love and respect will never die. And
kiss
anytime
the ring.
Yeah, Lisa. Every time Lisa's in the room, Sheena is going to cater to Lisa, and Madison does that for Patricia. Really, she's the only person besides Whitney that like decides to go up and make Patricia a part of this episode. It's really sad that she's hurting and like couldn't be a part of it.
She needs one of those like stairway elevator things.
Yeah. Someone noted that Madison asked Brett to bring a coupe glass for the champagne or whatever, and then he brought this like really weird cup that I've never seen before with pointy edges.
It's like, where did you get that?
And Patricia was just like sort of biting her tongue. She didn't want to say anything that he brought the champagne in the wrong glass.
Yeah.
That was kind of a fun moment.
Yeah. And then there was a funny moment on the way to the party. Craig and Paige are talking about, they Google Whitney's age and what year he was born. They deduce it was 1969. And they have a little, conspiracy moon landing conversation.
Well, because Paige says, was that when the moon landing happened? Which,
yes, which if you watched Even Stevens, you know.
Why does when does Even Stevens have that happen?
There's a musical episode, and one of the songs is "We went to the moon in 1969, not 1968, but a year later." And there's more.
Oh, and why were they trying to hammer home that it didn't happen in 1968?
It's just, I think they're learning about the moon landing in class, and it's a musical episode, so the lesson becomes musical.
That's all. I just was wondering why it's easier to say it's not in 1968.
Well, then later they go, not 1970, but a year sooner.
Oh, so when you watched that scene and they said 1969, you were like,
I was like, I can't confirm.
whoa, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, and then they have playful banter about conspiracy theories, but I don't really know, besides Craig actually believing some of these things, that Paige is like with them, you know. She does say an interesting thing. She says, I can't even get Wi-Fi on my way to this party right now, but they were able to live stream the moon landing into homes all across the country.
Yeah. Sometimes it is wild when you think about what technology has existed for so long and what technology we don't yet have.
Right. What technology don't we have?
Jetpacks, flying cars. We have self-driving cars, but still scary.
Right. I always thought a good technology, so this is someone who's like an inventor or a billionaire that listens to Trail Time, make a drone that's really big and really safe, and it has straps on it, like sort of like straps, like what's that, overalls, that a human harness can be in, and then you have a control in your hand, and you get to drone yourself around flying by drone in a little suspension thing.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
I'm sure that's possible.
Right, I know, but why can't we already have that right now?
People would just be like flinging everywhere.
Well, first of all, it has to be regulated to where it can only go a certain height and it can only go a certain speed, obviously. Okay. But
where would you go first?
Everywhere.
Disneyland.
You would be going, is Riley here yet? And I'd be outside your window with a huge drone over my head going, Amy, can I come in through the window?
I'm imagining it going like 10 miles an hour, so it still takes you like so long to get anywhere.
But you're flying up in the air. I mean,
I'm picturing, have you seen that video of the mascot who passes out on his way down? His just limp body. It's at a basketball game.
No, who did that?
It's like a mascot at a basketball game.
Went too high?
He like passes out while they're lowering him down. So it's just his limp body getting lowered down.
It's not funny. He was too high when they started him out that he
I think he might have like
spun
spun around or something. And then he's just like...
Whoa, that is horrible. I'm only laughing because the imagery of someone
I think he's okay.
limp. Okay. Wait, so I'm sorry, but you don't think that my drone technology of us kind of zipping around in the air at a certain...
It's kind of a horrific image.
I don't see that at all, but
what about like the zip line in Vegas? What if it's just there's a series of zip lines in every major city that zips you from like the Grove to the Americana?
That's kind of fun. If they redid power lines to be more efficient and be able to go over the hump of the power line holder, what's that called? Like the big stakes and whatever those things are called. Do you ever think about how you look out in Los Angeles and you don't notice power lines ever? They're just like blocked from your mind's eye, but then the minute you think about them, it's the ugliest, most cumbersome shit in the world that you've ever seen.
Remember Lisa Rinna like battled for a long time to get hers removed?
I mean, yeah, a noble goal.
Because it's like they could be underground.
Totally. There's so many different things. But if we are going to keep these above ground monstrosities, I think make them zip lines that we can zip back and forth on.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay, so what else? Patricia, we said kissing the ring.
Yeah, JT professes his love to Taylor, which felt forced.
Let's talk about it. That was, I mean, one of the only 3 scenes that I really cared about.
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere.
It was, yeah. I think if you're a JT detractor, which there are a few, I think you could say he was really over exaggerating his love of Taylor for potentially a storyline.
He's like, I love you. I would marry you tomorrow. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't think he should have said that. Specifically, he's kind of he made it his mission after talking with Rod that he wants to profess his feelings, and he said they had such camaraderie in Jamaica that it like made him. He's like, if you can laugh together, anything is possible or whatever. So he was brave, and he says this out loud. But the minute when he starts to talk about how like good they're doing as like friends or how much he values her, she's like, yeah, you're really good as comic relief in my life. And he should have, the minute he heard that comic relief, he should have stopped, pulled the emergency brake, and not said one more word.
Right.
Because no one who's ever secretly loved someone would ever say, you're the comic relief in my life. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, she's not into it. She even says, like, I wish, like, I could snap my fingers and make myself attracted to him, basically. And
But
it's
she
just not
said,
going to happen.
I am fully attracted to assholes.
Yeah.
She
And
says.
he goes on, now his good guys never win narrative. He's doubling down on that, which is kind of like incel vibes.
You thought so?
Well, it's just like, I'm like, she just doesn't like you.
I know.
It's not like a grand conspiracy.
I agree. That's the exact thought I had. I was like, JT, not everyone has to like you. I'm sorry. It's going to happen a lot for the rest of your life. Not everyone likes each other. It's not a bigger deal than that. And also, I just think it's so ridiculous. Like, eventually someone is going to like JT. He's not like unlovable.
Right.
Like, I think next season, if they have any other cast member on there, there's going to be someone who's being like, I like JT. Like,
right.
Someone is going to be attracted to him. So it's like, I just think this like forlorn persona of like, oh, I shot my shot and I fully lost. It's like, it's overblown.
Right. It's, try hard. And so then Shep and Taylor go off to the side. Austin and Olivia go off to the side. And there's sort of like a twofer dueling ex conversation.
Yep.
Shep's starts with him asking Taylor, he's like, what was that conversation about? He's like, did y'all hook up or not? And she's like, we have not crossed the threshold of friendship. Mm-hmm. And she basically says that, because he's like, I thought we were cool. Why do we keep getting into these arguments? And she's basically like, I was essentially cool with you because I was hoping we would get back together.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she says definitively that, she was always interested in being back with Shep. And the thing she said to JT, which I thought makes like JT should take some solace in this, is that she said, I have not moved, in so many words, she said, I have not moved past Shep. And Shep still being in my life, like she's still in love with Shep. That's it. Yeah. So that's why, I mean, JT just needs to take that to heart. And then I think Shep was sort of blown away when Taylor, when he asks,
his leg is like shaking 100 miles a minute.
Yeah. He's like, Taylor, would you get back together with me? Like very skeptical. And she goes, yeah.
She's like, possibly.
And
he's like, what?
No, seriously. Yeah. Do you think, was it shocking at all to you? That Taylor said that? Like, did you feel like Shep?
She finally admitted it.
Yeah. But it's like that. I always felt like that was the case, but I also felt like she was maybe trying to move on with the Austin stuff, but was still being, I don't know, like her feelings were brought back when she was with Shep. But to hear her definitively say to him, I would get back together if you wanted me to, was kind of shocking.
Right. And then she was like, I think she said something like, I care about me, but I care about us. And then he goes, us is over.
Yes.
Which honestly, I hate to say it, kind of proud of Shep for staying strong, considering he's the one that fucked up and made them break up.
Yeah.
And he's still like not down.
Yeah. No, seriously. Us is over must have hit Taylor so hard. It's like the saddest thing you could ever hear if you're still in love with someone. He like, now, I mean, I'm like looking at everything she did, with a different lens, because everything she did this season was to get back with Shep, and she
blew it.
She blew it. And he says, us is over. And he says, like, if it's going to be hard for you to, I'm sort of breezing past, but he says, if it's going to be hard for you to still talk to me, then I don't think we should do it or whatever. And she goes, that's what I need. That's what I need.
Yeah. He's like, I'll stop messaging you.
Yeah.
And if it will fuck with your head. And she's like, yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. But then before that, she lets her one last, what's that, like, tool in her tool shed against Shep to potentially see if he does care for her. And she goes, I brushed past it, but it's powerful. She goes, so, if us is over, so you wouldn't care if I started to date Austin? And he goes, You want to date Austin?
He's like, that's who you want to date?
Yeah, that's who you want to date?
Which I'm like, wow, she really is like just trying to get a rise in any way she can.
Yeah, and he goes, if you truly wanted to date each other, then I would say, wowza. But what? Like
I won't stand in your
but
way.
I won't stand in your way.
Yeah.
He's just like, it was more of a critique of Taylor's mindset at that point, being like, wait, do you really want to date Austin?
Yeah.
And then Taylor goes, just admit it would hurt you. Just say that it would hurt you if I said that I was going to date Austin. He goes, no, I won't say that. So
He's
then
like, I will not give you what you want.
I will not. So then I'm like, I guess everything Taylor did with Austin and with Whitney, everyone already said it and alluded to it, but it really was just to make Shep care about her.
Yeah.
Right?
Like she had to go for the big guns to try and make him give a shit at all.
Yeah, and that was her last ditch effort to say one last time, what if I dated Austin? Which at this point, I don't even think Austin would date Taylor.
No.
Right?
No.
She just was using Austin. I think really using Austin.
No, that felt like she wasn't saying that in reality. She was saying like, if you really are over it, then you like, even in the most extreme case of me dating Austin, wouldn't care.
But I almost think like she would have if Austin let her date him for 6 months just to be like with Kristen and James.
Yeah.
Does this hurt you?
Right.
Does this hurt you? Don't you secretly want to get back together with me when you see that I'm dating your friend?
It's
She
sad.
she weapionized Austin and his
Yeah.
relationship with Shep.
Yeah.
Like the entire time.
Right.
And I wasn't fully grasping that. As her motivation, but now it's sort of like it does just make me think about Taylor differently for the entire season, how she's been dealing with everything.
Yeah. Kind of diabolical.
Yeah, then he goes, okay, well, if you want to be alone, goodbye or whatever. And she goes, water off a duck's ass, baby, trying to be cool. And then she goes into the bathroom and just starts sobbing.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, bye.
Also-
They were like holding hands during that conversation. It was like very intense.
Yeah, it was. And I'm not leaving you on a limb with the Shep praise. Shep handled this well.
Yeah, he was
said-
being nice.
He said, what I think of our relationship doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you. I am not doing this to have hopes of us getting back together. I will sleep with you. I'll still invite you over. I'll do all these things that exes could possibly do, but it's not going to mean anything to me, and it's going to mean more to you. So we should stop that completely if that's what you need to get past me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Taylor was just using the opportunity of them being friends, like she said, to like try to get back for that
Right.
relationship. So he was good to just say definitively, I won't be in your life if you need to move on.
Right. Like he was saying, he was talking to Whitney and was saying that she keeps just like rolling up to his house.
Yeah.
Like she has like no boundaries whatsoever.
And she'd see him and like there'd be other people there that he's
Yeah.
like hanging out with.
Yeah.
So
No, she's like a bull in a china shop.
yeah, I will say, just because you brought up Austin and Olivia's talk, it
Yeah.
was about a tenth as meaningful.
Yeah.
It was basically just Austin, for some reason, for some godforsaken reason, thought that he would show up to this room. He was asking Olivia to talk. He wanted to talk to her.
Right.
He said, Olivia, can we speak? And he thought, sitting down, that he would just give Olivia the opportunity to apologize to him for how many times she's brought up him kissing Taylor. Like the
Right.
most delusional
I
thing
know.
I've ever...
He's like, I thought we were going to sit down and you were going to say, holy shit, I let my emotions get the best of me.
Yeah.
And she's like, you thought I was going to apologize?
Yeah. And Olivia says, I realize that you are not here for me in a way that I want. And like I was using you for my emotional well-being because you had been through this entire situation, but you're not really here for me. And
Yeah.
then when he says, well, this is a completely different conversation than I thought we would had. I thought you would apologize. She just immediately gets up, and that's
Yeah.
the end of the conversation.
Right. Well, he had earlier talked to his sister about this, and his sister already said,
Yes.
like, you think she's going to apologize? And then Leva and Olivia talk, and Leva's like, you got to be done with this guy. Like, it's ridiculous. And Olivia sort of is like, I will say I've been a little bit
Yeah.
hot and cold or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, did you notice Rod says that JT has MacGruber hair? And I was like, do you think Olivia and Austin watch MacGruber?
You know what? I'm going to say definitively on Turtle Time, yes. One of the things Austin and Olivia are passionate about is MacGruber.
Okay.
Who said he had MacGruber? Rod said.
Rod was like, you have some MacGruber hair going on to JT.
So Rod definitely likes it.
So like it's in the cycle. Like I feel like One thing I do feel like Olivia and Rod had no chemistry,
Yeah.
but I bet that they could have like a sort of like tepid relationship where they watch broad comedies.
I think so too. I really feel like Rod and JT, like, they had a really sad trajectory this season. And I want to take 30 seconds to talk about Rodrigo's trajectory. I mean, that seems like that ended as absolutely nothing. And there's no chance of him coming back, right?
Right.
To not go on the trip and then have no moments in the finale at all.
Yeah.
To be a non-entity for almost half of the season. I mean,
They just showed him sort of in the background reacting to the fight.
I liked him. I thought he was great, and I thought he had some funny scenes with Craig or whatever, but he just didn't seem like he wanted to be on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't go on the cast trip for 4 episodes or 3 episodes, you're probably not going to come back next season if you can't make that work.
Right. Well, maybe he'll play a bigger role if Rod gets the shove.
Yeah. So can we now sort of mosey on into the cottage, which is Whitney's bar? And I will say, so JT's mindset is like you said, he's like standing in the rain, sad, forlorn. He just had put his heart out on a platter for Taylor and she broke it. So he's so sad. So he decides to get drunk as a skunk in Whitney's cottage bar, and he's wanting to have a little bit of fun. So he's spinning around on a bar stool, sort of carefree in the cottage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Did you think that when they kind of implied that Austin blew Taylor a kiss? Did you think that was real? Or do you think that could have been for anybody?
It was such tight quarters.
I know.
That I don't.
The camera work was hard.
It was the camera. I mean,
maybe
the
they were drunk.
Team, I think the camera team were having some of that expensive bourbon or something behind the scenes.
Maybe they had some of Olivia's warm tequila.
Their coverage of the fight, which I'm skipping ahead. Well, I'll save it.
It's
but
all
it was
part of this. It's basically
But
begins
I
right away.
Did you notice when they did a 30 minutes later timestamp to demarcate nothing, that it was day to night? I've never seen a 30 minutes later that didn't mean anything. It was like all of a sudden Vanita was leaving and it was dark.
Yeah, she ate shit. And then
she ate shit on the stairs.
And then Olivia poured herself some Don Julio, and Paige was like, with no ice? And she was like, yeah, I mean, whatever. And Paige is like, that's like serial killer vibes.
Maybe it was to signify that like things are getting a little more chaotic.
That's how I read it. It was like everyone's drunk now.
Yeah, that's because it was like the party shifted to like more chaotic energy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're back in the cottage. The coverage is kind of shit. You don't know who is blowing kisses to who. And then Austin fully starts this shit with JT. He comes in hot and heavy, right up in JT's face, and says, I forget what he said. He says something
Finally,
like,
you're at eye level with me.
And he's grinning, an evil grin, a mean-spirited grin. He's not being fun. I sensed hostility.
Yeah.
And he goes, and you literally did get up on a chair so you could be eye level with me. And JT instantly says to him, which I give JT all the credit in the world. He goes, you're a snake and a coward, to Austin's face.
Yeah.
And then Austin goes, what are you squealing about, JT? Which I honestly think the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard is talking about someone's utterances as squeals. I think that is so offensive that he called what JT was saying squealing.
I was just on that Roni reunion I was watching. Luann keeps negating what Carol is saying on the opposite other couch. And she goes, what are you yapping on about over there?
Yapping.
And Carol's like, excuse me.
She called what Carol was saying yapping.
Like she's like, what are you going on about over there? Like, anyways.
Yeah, it is so dismissive that Austin immediately called it squealing for JT.
But JT is like literally on his soapbox. He's like, how many people have you hurt in this town?
Yes, seriously, he went in. He was ready. He goes, my Taylor shit flopped. I'm ready to do part 2 of what I wanted to get done. I'm not ghosting Austin. I'm actually going to confront Austin. But Austin came up to him. Austin came in with bad intentions by doing that eye level. His smile was hostile as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And JT brought it to him. I don't know 100% if JT should have stayed on the bar stool looking at him, because I think he should have gotten up, because it left him in kind of a precarious position to be confronting someone on a bar stool,
Yeah.
like that. And then there's a little bit of like there's the blown kiss. Then Austin asks Taylor to sort of like he asks like, did you ever? He starts to ask Taylor's advice about something or like what they're fighting about. Then Taylor immediately starts to defend Austin, like JT, you know.
Yeah, because he goes, now you're yelling at the woman
Yes.
whose like heart you broke or whatever.
Yes.
And Taylor's like, he's literally not yelling.
Yeah.
Like, you need to chill.
Yeah, and then JT goes, you're taking his back right now. I will never forgive this. I will never forgive this.
Psycho.
Yeah. And then Austin goes, what are you so upset about, JT? And then in Austin's confessional, I mean, you could read this as a villain moment or you could read this as just honest. But he says, I finally figured it out. JT is jealous of me. He goes, I'm the person that gets the girl. He was in love with Taylor, but I'm the one who gets the girl. JT doesn't get
He's
the
like,
girl.
guys like him don't get the girl. And I'm like, so you both agree.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that was like kind of brutal, but it's like I usually whenever people accuse others of being jealous, you're like eye roll, like
Yeah.
yikes. But I'm like, I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. You think that JT, if you were just
Yeah,
citing his motivation, you could say he's jealous of Austin.
Yeah, and like infuriated that like he wins.
Yeah.
Even though it's like he doesn't like win, he's in a shitstorm all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's not good.
I guess I have a few thoughts. I feel like
He's threatened.
jealousy. Yeah, jealousy is a term where it's like, does he want to be Austin? That's what I always think of jealousy. Or does he want the success of Austin? I don't know if it's that, but I do think he specifically said, I resent that Austin is the kind of person that gets the, like the girls to fall in love with him or whatever. So I guess you could say he's jealous.
Right. Yeah. Green with envy.
But would
for what
Austin-
he has.
But would Austin be like getting like Austin is powerful because in the Southern Charm universe he's powerful and new cast members like are instantly attracted to him and he's on reality shows and
Yeah.
he's probably wealthy.
He's tall.
And he's tall, and in Charleston he's like a local celebrity. I mean, he
Yeah.
probably could point at someone in the room in Charleston and like start to have a conversation with anybody he wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm like, would Austin have this amazing luck as a semi-villain who treats people like shit sometimes? Would he be doing as well if he wasn't the star of a reality show?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, the tall versus short is historical problem.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I just wanted to add, I guess, a little nuance to JT's gripe against Austin, but he is making it his mission to call out Austin in every way he can. He says, even Shep says that you're a little bully in the sandbox who's playing with other people's shiny toys or
Yeah.
whatever. And then what happens? He says, I'm talking to you now man to man, right in your face or whatever.
Yeah. And then whatever, I don't know. I feel like JT sort of puts his chest out and then Austin just like shoves him really hard and he like flies off the chair.
Which could have been really bad.
I know.
If JT's leg was dangling in one of the
I know, you could have like cracked his skull on something.
It was awful. So Austin shoved him. It was like JT was getting in his face screaming, but he
kind of looked like Mighty Mouse. Like he was like just like bumping, like chest bumping him, but he could only get like halfway up.
Yeah. So once JT is off the stool, he landed well off the stool.
Yeah.
Austin started it. I mean, Austin shoved
Yeah.
him hard, and then JT starts bouncing up. The first one doesn't make contact, but the second one, I watched Austin's face react. I don't know how hard he got him, and then immediately the camera people go to absolute shit, and they start filming the ceiling and filming the ground, and we're getting the.
It must be like really small in there,
I guess, and they were getting bumped, but still, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was small, but this is the one thing you want to cover. The first fight. If it's going to happen, I know it's horrible, but at least can we get it well documented?
They should have put some little GoPros up in every corner.
Seriously, I mean, they had no idea this was going to happen, but it was one of the worst filmed things I've ever seen.
I know, it was very chaotic.
You instantly were just seeing like JT in a headlock, but I felt like JT kind of brought it. I mean, Austin's shirt was ripped to shit.
I know.
And JT goes,
It
"You
was
want
a
more?"
knit. It was a knit.
It was a knit, so it was easy to rip.
Did you see Whitney's face? He looked like Satan being very pleased.
Oh, he was? I didn't see
Like
that.
he was like,
Really? I didn't see that.
I think he was like, this is going to be good.
Okay, yeah. JT, and then he goes, it's over in 2 seconds because Rod sort of separates them. No one wants a physical fight on Bravo now.
Yeah.
They can't even let physical fights happen. It's
No.
like security like runs in the minute
Yeah.
you're having a fight. So this couldn't have lasted long no matter what, but I do wish that we had proper coverage of it to see the nuance of this fight because I barely knew what the fuck happened.
I know. It never got too bad.
No, it was stopped very
It wasn't
soon.
too scrappy.
And then Austin screams.
I love it. Shep almost kind of pulled a Kyle Richards. He goes,
Yeah.
I'm tired of negativity, and like
I was
starts to walk out.
I was like, did he say that before the fight happened, or did he really just walk out as the fight was happening?
Yeah. And then JT's like, this is when, Austin is like, 10 years, no physical contact, and here you come in. And JT's like, you lose. I'll see you never again.
You touched me first, so you
Yeah.
fucking lose. I
Yeah.
also thought JT was ready if Austin wanted to fight more. I mean, I don't like physical violence, but I don't think it was so like cut and dry that Austin would have annihilated JT. I feel like there would have been a Really?
I feel like he could yeet him out.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I would not want to fight.
Maybe he could just punch him like in the liver repeatedly.
He has. Okay, we don't have to get into like how.
I feel like once he's off the stool,
I would. I don't know.
they
I
would
wouldn't
not
bet
be
against.
matched in their weight class.
I know, but I wouldn't bet against JT in that fight. He was fired up, and he seemed.
He is fit, but
Okay, you think? All right. Well, let us know what you think, little turtle cuties. Could JT have
I will
beaten the
have to
shit-
do a physical examination of Austin to find out.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. And then the episode ends. Austin screams that this has never happened before. JT says, you fucking lose. I'll never see you again.
Yeah.
Whitney goes out to comfort Austin in the bushes.
Yeah.
He's going, calm down, baby. Calm down, baby. Calm down.
Yeah.
And then Shep ends the season with his takeaway.
Can we talk about, did you have a jump scare when he came on screen? Shep in his confessional looked so sick.
I didn't notice that.
He
too
was
badly.
extremely pale with dark circles under his eyes. He looked like the Twilight vampire makeup.
Oh no, I didn't
And-
notice that.
I was like, what?
Oh no, so he looked markedly worse than how
It
he's
looked
looked
like
this
his
season.
body was shutting down. Like,
Oh no,
but I feel like we've seen him since, so maybe that was a fluke. But
Well, I
or they
hope-
didn't do makeup that day, and maybe that's what he looks like underneath at all times.
I needed to watch it again. I didn't notice how sick he potentially looked. But I will watch again. But
Okay.
he said, I think he says that Austin got away with a lot this season, and I think that he's been a bad friend to me, and I think he deserved this because he did wrong.
Yeah, he said no one can dispute that he deserves it.
Yeah. So then it ends, and it's like, okay, coming up on the reunion, and I just thought that it's like that is such a strange way to end this finale. Like Craig didn't have a moment, Paige didn't have a moment. Like,
Right.
I don't know, it felt very like haphazard, like we were talking abrupt, and then it just ends with Whitney Whitney and Austin. Like Austin is like red faced and torn shirt and like off camera, and you can see it's like a fourth wall break or whatever.
Yeah.
It just felt.
I'm kind of okay with it because I'm like, let's just talk it through at the reunion. Let's all get on the same page. And I feel like Taylor's going to go down. Like
Yeah.
the whole Whitney thing, I feel like is going to be a big thing of like,
Yeah.
she kind of tries to lie about
Yeah.
what she sent to Whitney or whatever. And also I have a morbid question. I think we've covered this before, but does timeline wise, Taylor's brother, is he still living when they filmed the reunion? Or
He's
is that a
not.
question mark?
He's not, I don't think.
Okay, so
I-
that's going to like certainly paint the vibe of the reunion.
I'm almost positive the reunion was filmed about 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
In real time, 4 weeks in
Okay.
our current era, and Worth, her brother, I think died like almost 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So she's
Okay.
going to be dealing with that at the reunion, for sure. And who knows how much grace they will give her, because that warrants a lot. So it's like
Totally. And it's like that is such a additional
yeah.
point of view regarding
I mean, like-
how she feels about what happened with Olivia now that she knows what it feels like to go through that.
Totally. So overall, good finale, right?
Yeah.
So
I liked it.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, we'll talk about this after the reunion too, but although the only thing they ended up discussing for the most part was this Taylor Austin thing, did you ultimately think Southern Charm was a good season?
Yes.
Good. You did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I
Good.
thought it was fun and spicy. Yeah, like I said, it got a little tiresome talking about that love triangle again and again and again, but everything around it was still entertaining enough that it was okay.
Yeah, and I feel like the storylines that they would have tried around this would not have popped had this not have happened. Because like there's the Craig and Paige shit, which I've already talked about. I believe they're in love, and this long distance shit works for them. So that is not conflict to me. I know this is a happy ending in my mind. The Madison and Brett thing, they're potentially going to have a baby, but they don't actually try to get pregnant on camera. Patricia brings up how Whitney needs family in his life. She wants him to get married. I'm sure that would have been more of a through line had she not been hurt the entire time. But nothing really popped. I mean, even JT's story popped, but it's in reaction to the Taylor and Austin thing.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I loved the Southern Charm vibes the entire time. And if this is the storyline that had to be the main focus, nothing else got short shrifted except potentially Olivia's grief for her brother. But other than that, nothing really came to the surface apart from this.
Right.
So I'm fine with it being the mainstay, of this season.
And it like does have to do with their dynamics ultimately. Like it's like what they have underlying feelings anyways.
Yes.
So I'm excited for the reunion. I think it'll be good.
Me too.
And before we do the Beverly Hills Minute, I think I have to piss again.
I was just waiting here filled with piss to look at you and say I need to do a rare, unprecedented second.
I know. What's going on? We're for
I-
the new year, our body is cleansing.
Well, can I tell you what I did differently just for a peek behind the curtain? Our last certified turtle piss break, our last certified our CTPB, I drank about 6 glasses of water.
6?
Well, like 4 very quickly just because I wanted to be hydrated. So I know
It ran through.
that's the X factor.
Yeah, this coffee's pumping through this morning.
Yeah, I'm ready. And we love, we love hearing that our little turtle cuties also take certified turtles at the same time as us. So let us know if you did too while you're listening. That'd be kind of fun. So let's do it now. Do you want to?
Let's do it.
We're back.
We're back. I texted you this already, but I was listening to Paul Giamatti on Armchair Expert, and don't shame me, I know. He pissed twice during the podcast, which I don't think I've ever listened to a podcast where someone went to the bathroom twice.
I love that you said that. And so we're basically having a Paul Giamatti this episode.
We can certified Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
CPG pee break.
So what you're saying, name our piss breaks potentially after Paul Giamatti, maybe
I
for a period
gotta
of time?
do a Paul Giamatti.
That sounds good.
We'll do it if he wins the Oscar. We'll do it.
That sounds good. Okay, wait. You just hold on. You just opened a full-blown can of worms. I thought we were almost ending, but I have so many questions. First of all, I like that Armchair Expert keeps in the guests saying they have to piss.
Yeah.
Terry Gross could never.
No.
Right?
No. Also, the canon is they record in an attic, like at Dax Shepard's house, and the bathroom in there doesn't have a door. It's a curtain.
No.
So whenever a guest has to piss, he asks if they want him to leave because there's no door.
He keeps that question in every episode.
And Paul Giamatti talks through his piss.
That is...
Like they go back and forth the whole time.
So I don't like Dax Shepard at all in any way.
I will not go to bat for him.
I
just am kind of grandfathered in.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm not making you justify your Dax Shepard love. I'm on the
I
scale
don't
of...
love him. I just listen when the guest is interesting.
I'm complimenting to say the just hearing the reaction of every celebrity guest have to make that game time decision of open curtain / let the host leave so that I can piss freely is a very funny psychological detail that I'm sure every episode makes you humanizes the person.
Yeah. I wonder if some people are like cut that I asked to pee.
I'm sure. I feel like most people that are not certified turtle piss brained like us would want your piss break out. I'm sure that's why Terry Gross would not include those in Fresh Air.
But I always think about that because, like I've said, I like long podcasts. And so there's some other ones like, Pete Holmes, his podcast a lot of times runs really long, like over 2 hours. And sometimes people will be like, is it okay if I go to the bathroom? And then they'll like cut back and, be like,
yeah, it's nice. I mean, I assume everybody, if your podcast is over an hour, is stopping to take a certified turtle.
Yeah.
And people just edit it out.
Right.
So
I always think about that on like Howard Stern and stuff, because those are on video and maybe they just cut it out. But I'm always like, or maybe it's because they record those so early in the morning. If we recorded at like 6 a.m., I probably wouldn't have to piss because I wouldn't be hydrated yet.
do you want to start?
No. I have considered if I should start waking up earlier in 2024, but
Okay.
haven't decided yet.
Well, let's talk about that at some point.
Okay.
I want to ask you just one last Paul Giamatti thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say beforehand that neither Amy and I thought that Beverly Hills warrants our full attention. We're not spending an hour on it. We're probably going to spend 20 minutes talking about the highlights just because it wasn't as great as what the other stuff we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
So all that to say, did you like The Holdovers?
I haven't seen it yet. It's like my final list.
I don't want
It's
to.
on Peacock.
Yes.
I'll probably
Yes.
see it in theaters though.
You will?
I like to see things in theaters, as you know.
I think it's worthy of it. And I don't want to.
Everyone loves it.
I don't want to heighten your expectations, but it sounds like they're at the level. But I was so impressed, and
Great.
yeah, it was a very fun movie.
If
so
you
let me know when
like
you watch it.
him, he's been on obviously like he's on an Oscar campaign, so he's doing every podcast. Him on WTF is a delight. I know you hate Mark Maron. They vibe so hard. Like if they were a man and a woman, I would say were going to get married after the interview. Like they were like gagged by each other.
Okay. I mean, I used to watch I used to listen to Mark Maron exactly what you said. If like Kenneth Lonergan was on it, I was like, I have to listen to Kenneth,
Obama.
Yeah, right. When Obama was on it, but when if I'm like I have to listen to Kenneth Lonergan, I can suffer through Mark Maron. I just skip past the first 20 minutes where he's playing guitar or whatever the hell he's doing.
Guitar's at the end.
Well, okay, yeah. I just skip through to what and you have to just take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But I probably, if you do say his Giamatti rapport is so strong, I can suffer through Mark Maron to listen to it.
Yeah.
And
Only if you have if you are in the mood for Giamatti, I will say he brought out his essence. They were just really having a good time. So
all right, that's you teased it properly, and I will listen to it. And then you please let me know when you watch Holdovers, because I want to hear your take on it. It's great.
Yeah, I need to ask Jimmy if he wants to see it or watch it, or if I should proceed solo.
Well, speaking of Paul Giamatti, he had a cameo this episode in Beverly Hills, which was pretty fun when they went to Ojai.
It was like a Sideways moment when they went to the winery.
I honestly thought about Sideways when they were doing that Ojai trip and doing wine tasting. I was like, what would Paul Giamatti think about this?
Yeah.
Right?
I should watch that again.
Oh, you've only seen it once?
I've seen it a couple times, but it's been a while and I always enjoy it.
It's really fun. My parents came to visit me with Megan, and we did the wine country full tour. Like we did all that stuff, and we kept thinking about Sideways. And then right after our trip, we came back and watched Sideways again. It still hits hard. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
So fun.
Yeah.
Movies aren't like that anymore.
No.
And it introduced Thomas Hayden Church to the world, which that's one of the best casting. Sandra Oh as well. It's like that's one of the best casting things you could ever do, where you discover someone or they've never been in shit, or he was in Wings or whatever and he hadn't been famous in 10 years, and then you bring him out. And then like Spider-Man 3 is casting him. Like they brought Thomas Hayden Church to the world.
Yeah, well, he's like the Sandman.
Yeah, he was the Sandman in Spider-Man 3.
Not to be confused with Adam Sandler.
Oh, right. So
Okay.
what did you think about this episode of Beverly Hills? It was called A Celebration of Life.
I hate to call like a funereal episode boring, but it was a real snooze in my opinion.
Okay.
Like they went on a full ass trip. I mean, not really. It was for the day, but that was, fun enough, but that was like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this episode is two things happen. They go on a day trip to Ojai, which I'll say that trip was like a 6 out of 10 in terms of the entertainment. Yeah. I was fine with it.
When you don't stay the night, it's kind of like,
it's like, was
whatever.
That a trip?
Yeah.
Did it ever really happen?
Yeah.
Like, why go to Ojai if you're just going to do it for one day? I didn't really get the whole sense of Ojai enough to warrant, being there.
Right. Like they could have gone to Malibu.
Yeah. And then the second half is the celebration of life for Kyle's friend. And I will say, I think this episode was muted purposefully, edited together so that it was just about Kyle reconciling and honoring her friend that died. They didn't want too much of a dichotomy in terms of tone, because 30 minutes of this episode is just them at the celebration of life, which I thought was just sad. And I thought, which, you know, you can't watch this as just like to be fully entertained. It's like, this is sad.
No,
it's somber.
It was sad.
And so the Ojai trip was not fun enough to where I was like, okay, we got the highs and lows of entertainment here. It was just kind of like, okay, the Ojai trip wasn't that great. I mean, they had, like, Kyle had to break out games within 5 minutes of them sitting there. And it's like, she was like, what was it called? Girls Going Out games?
I know. I'm like, do they just now, all producers carry those cards in their pack?
Someone has tweeted about it, like Brian Moylan or someone in the, you know, commenting space has said, like, producers, for the love of God, please stop giving these packs of cards at every dinner for the games. I mean, this is like the third.
It's a crutch.
This is the third dinner game, I think, in this season of Beverly Hills alone that they have played games at the table.
I know.
And this one at least was like action oriented, but still nothing was that fun that came out of it. Sutton was like, okay, I'll lick Kyle's toe. Sure. And then Sutton was like, I'll lick inside Dorit's mouth.
Right.
And then it was like, let's show how scissoring happened.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And like her and Dorit get down to the ground and imitate scissoring.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But I don't think any of those moments like made this iconic.
No.
This trip to Ojai.
No, it was like they had fun for 10 minutes and everyone was like, look how we're getting along. And I'm like, yeah, you could get along for an hour. Congrats. Like, I don't care.
Also, that's a trope of saying we fight hard and we play hard. I feel like on every Housewives franchise, they said that. They always go like, now this is what I love about this group. We can bounce back from anything. Like, they all say it, and this was not bounce back territory. I was like, okay, you guys are just having a moderate amount of fun for 2 hours.
Like, you all decided not to bring up an issue you had, because the difference is that usually when you guys are sitting at a table, someone goes, Garcelle, I just wanted to bring something up that has been bothering me.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if it's just like, okay, so dinners are two things. They're a place to where you bring up something that bothered you, which you know you're going to start shit about, or you're going to have a game that brings up shit because of the answer you give.
Right.
So it's just, which avenue do we want to pursue?
Right. So here they do bring up, like, Kyle's like, would you date a woman? And so obviously that's kind of loaded, being that the rumor with her is that she is dating a woman. Yeah. But it didn't really go anywhere. Garcelle was like, I would consider it, honestly. I was like, okay.
Yeah, Garcelle's honesty there was kind of fun. She was like, I've considered it, to be honest.
Yeah, she's like, it's been on my mind.
That was pretty great. I liked that. That was a great Garcelle moment. I give her a lot of credit for just being like, yes. And then Kyle was like, I do.
They were like, would you, Kyle? And she goes, She like has to pretend to think about it.
She was the one who brought it up.
I know. She's like, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like as if your every waking moment isn't like, fuck, should I date this woman?
Right. What about Kyle? Kyle saying she feels disconnected from LA and she's waiting for the time to like get back to nature, like, and move when she can. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. I mean, that's like fits into her whole like revolutionary lifestyle change. I do love when it's like rich people are like, I just want to like get back into nature, and it's like they can go to like Ojai, Aspen, Vail.
Yeah, you really
like Montana Ranch.
Also, I mean, Kyle is wealthy enough to where your dreams can come true anytime you snap your fingers and just spend 3 months in the winter at whatever beautiful, outdoor place you want.
Right.
It wouldn't require leaving Los Angeles at all.
No, I know. I'm like, well, you could just also move to like Topanga or something.
Do you ever feel disconnected from Los Angeles?
No, I'm like a gutter rat. I like going to like Hollywood and like walking around and being a little pig.
Each year I feel only more and more connected.
Well, it's also like that's the thing about LA is that you can go on a hike. You can drive an hour and go to the mountains. You can go to the beach. Like you can do all of that. I guess I understand the concept of wanting like a completely tranquil life. Yeah. But again, to her, that could just mean moving to Santa Barbara. Yeah.
And they were all like, yeah, I feel like I would get bored with this when they're at Ojai, like that once you have it, you wouldn't want it or whatever.
There's nothing in Ojai.
Yeah, I've been. I was going to ask you.
I haven't been there in years, but when I did, I was like, there's nothing here.
Yeah, I went and I went to a restaurant that I thought was great, and I really love Bart's Books. If you've never been to Ojai, you got to go to Bart's Books. It's so cool. It's an outdoor book store.
Yeah.
And it has so many books, and they really care about, their inventory and everything. So that's a fun thing. That's probably my favorite thing by far about Ojai, but I haven't been very often, only maybe twice.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, but most of California is. So yeah, they scissor.
Okay, I do want to say, yeah, they scissor. Yeah, they're scissoring on the ground, and people are like, is that scissoring technically? I don't know. So let's then they leave. And it was like, okay, well, so you guys went to Ojai for like a day to honor Anne Marie, supposedly.
Right.
Which, I don't know. I mean, we're going to get into Anne Marie.
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of first-time cast member flops, I feel like this was one of the biggest flops that anyone's ever done. What Anne Marie ultimately does at the Celebration of Life event. I mean, one of the
God.
But I wanted to say one thing about the if you're okay to move forward.
Yeah.
The Garcelle scene with her kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already talked about how Garcelle's journey with her sons is definitely what she is prioritizing in terms of like what she wants to show on camera.
Yeah.
And I feel like this scene was her last ditch effort to bring up every single storyline she could possibly have with her kids in one place. And her kids are giving her nothing.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you want to talk about right now? I'll talk about sex. I'll talk about your relationship with Ashlyn. I'll talk about
lasagna.
I'll talk about lasagna and how I want to feed you lasagna all the time. I'll talk about how I wasn't there for you enough and you can come to me if you didn't think I was a good enough mother or whatever. She like wanted everything about her kids in that 1 hour that she had on camera. And it's like nothing is hitting. I'm sorry.
No.
Garcelle, this is not
It was
working.
so boring. Jimmy came in and was like, I was like writhing in my seat. I was like, make it end. And he was like, what? And I was like eye rolling at everything the kids said. I was like, oh, they're so annoying. And he was like, that's how kids are. Why are you getting so pissed off? I was like, because I don't want to see this. I don't want this.
That's what it is. It's first of all, the kids are playing it too cool. I do not want to see teenagers act too cool, like they're smarter than adults and that they don't care about anything. And he's like, I forget what.
I did love though when she said that he couldn't have his girlfriend spend the night. They said that that's hater mentality.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna start saying that about everything. I'm like, that's hater mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. It brought for some reason I thought I got a blip of Michael Jackson saying they're just, what does he say? They're just
It's all lies.
It's all lies. Doesn't he say they're just jealous?
They're just jealous.
So anyway, but I just think that also like in Garcelle's defense, she wants to make this her storyline, and they are the worst participants in this storyline because they're giving her nothing back. They're not like allowing her to have any of these moments. It's totally thankless.
And it's never ending. It's like nothing new has happened since we went to dinner with them last week. Why are we visiting them again?
Yes. It's not entertaining enough to spend this amount of time on it. I'm sorry, Garcelle. It's kind of just like a swing and a miss.
No.
This isn't working, and it didn't deserve even 5 minutes of this episode.
No.
So then we get to a celebration of life.
Well, there is Dorit and PK, but
I'm sorry to skip past that. I actually loved that moment. Oh my God, what am I thinking? I thought that was actually kind of sweet.
Yeah, they I still think they're gonna break up though.
I would not at all be surprised if at some point Dorit was ready to leave, PK and felt assured, like maybe after she sees how Kyle and Mauricio navigate this. And I could totally imagine a world where Dorit says, why am I putting up with this person who's not validating me in any way? And
wait, did you see their London theater moment?
What
a little turtle cutie had DM'd us before it went viral that they went to see, it's like Pan. I was reading the comments. I didn't really understand what it was. It's like some sort of like a Peter Pan live show, but it's called like pantomime. And I think there's always like celebrity guests and stuff. Apparently, from what I understood from reading the comments, it's sort of like a old institution that's like always happening in London. It's like a popular show that people go to. And I think Boy George has something to do with it, which is why they were there. But Dorit played in the show as a mermaid who, I don't understand the context, was speaking in a Lois Griffin voice. I don't know why I didn't bring this up at the top of the show.
Wait. Okay. Let me reiterate what I learned from what you said. There is a show in London called Pantomime with a dash between Pan and Tomine to represent Peter Pan. It's a long-running show. And in it, Boy George was affiliated with it, and he thought that Dorit would be a good mermaid in the show. Yeah. And for some reason, Dorit made her character choice to be she speaks with an accent that is reminiscent of Lois Griffin.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And is there evidence of this?
Yes.
Was it on the show?
No.
Is it? So
people took video. She's wearing like a blue beaded wig. I'll show you after.
Are you comfortable at all even alluding to what a Lois Griffin is?
Well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure, I have to check, but multiple people specifically said Lois Griffin. So I don't think it's just that like she sounded like Lois Griffin. I think there's maybe some part of the show where, this is my guess, that like you draw from a hat or something where like you're put on the spot and you have to like do it like this.
So someone,
you know?
So Lois Griffin could have possibly been one of the names that was pulled out of a hat?
That's my guess, but I might be completely making that up. But
because I was going to say Dorit's natural accent would have, I think, lent itself well to a mermaid character. It sort of has a hint of London, but also it's an unearthly quality about it as well.
But she like fully sings in it. There's like a whole song where it's like something about like life being a mermaid. It's like a whole thing.
Would you mind, after we get done recording, sending me the
I'll
best
definitely pull it up.
Example of that? So I can sort of high level this scene. PK is not being as sympathetic to Dorit's PTSD, which is a real thing, and it's been Dorit has alluded to it a lot this season. Surprises to her lead to anxiety, and she's uncomfortable when she doesn't have all of the like knowledge of what she's about to take part in, because it's just all anxiety. And PK specifically resents the fact that when he tried to surprise her for their wonderful Pretty Woman anniversary, that she had to talk about her anxiety and PTSD at the moment and kind of ruined it. So it was more about having a third party walk them through how PK can understand PTSD.
Right.
And
and he's like, when does high maintenance blend with PTSD? Which seems like a low blow, but then when they show the clips and she's all like commandeering the stylist and saying that she needs her bronzer and all of this stuff, I'm like, yeah, that more just seems like control freak. That like, I understood the part where she was like, where are my kids? Like, I didn't know I was going to be gone all night or whatever. But then once she knew the situation, then she just switched to wanting to be in charge.
Yeah, she had Jagger call her specifically and say, Mommy, we're okay, or whatever. I wasn't like fully one-sided about this conversation. I felt like PK handled himself well. He loves doing little digs because that's like his love language. Like, he likes poking fun. But I felt like I thought he was legitimately trying to grasp with what is PTSD and what should I give her allowance for and what should I like think is not a part of it, and I can actually criticize her openly to work on things in a relationship. And then I thought they had a very sweet moment when he starts to get emotional, when he says, I want you to understand that I do care about this, and it hurts me, and he starts to almost cry. And Dorit goes, PK, Baba, baby.
She can't stand it for a second.
And she comes over to him and she goes, why didn't you say that before? And it's like, that's really sweet. Like, when I see moments like that, I'm like, wow, Dorit legitimately loves PK. And I know PK loves Dorit, even though he gets annoyed with her. So ultimately, that was a sweet scene, I thought.
Yeah, it was good. I hope they get their shit together and get on the same page.
But again, it would not shock me if they moved away from each other naturally and said, this is not our end goal.
Especially with that whole homeschooling the kids situation.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Okay, and then we meet up with Kyle, who is driving to the event with Teddy and Morgan. First of all, there's like a flirtatious moment where Morgan tries on Kyle's ring in the car.
You read that as flirtatious.
A little bit. I feel like, I don't know if I'm reading into it, but I'm like, I don't act horny like that with my girlfriends.
And that was giving horny.
I feel like all of their interactions are very like,
I am not the best person to, I guess, remark on this, but I almost thought like being flirty with each other is potentially just a part of their friendship. I mean, do you see it as Morgan is attracted to Kyle and wants to date Kyle, and then Kyle is the one who's not fully committed?
Opposite.
Kyle would want to date Morgan.
I
if
think
she could.
she's more like, whoa, like she's opened up my world. And Morgan's more like, I'm just like this rich lady is like obsessed with me and like we're friends, but she is like, won't leave me alone.
But I thought there were instances of Morgan overstating and overinflating how close they were and their rapport for a way that I don't think I'm just like, I'm a friend and this is what I do and this is just par for the course. Like she was like, you don't like cantaloupe, and I know you don't like cantaloupe.
I know.
And
she's like,
my
my baby hates cantaloupe.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so Morgan, you're kind of you're both tapping into this. I mean, why would Kyle ask, would you ever date a woman when you know you just introduced Morgan Wade to everyone and they all are skeptical of this new friendship? And Dorit specifically is, I guess I'm just confused, and until they tell me what this is, I don't know.
I know. And then the song, I mean, they could just be trolling us ultimately, but like the song that she chooses to sing at the memorial, the lyrics go, which they show the words on the screen to make it very clear. She goes, you say that I'm too young for you. You're scared I'm too right for you. And Kyle's like grinning.
Oh my gosh. It was I didn't even hear those lyrics. I can't believe it. That's a beautiful, beautiful song. So before we talk about the celebration of life, I thought was like, worth just thinking about in terms of how do you put an event like this that is very somber and sad. I feel like they handled it well, showcasing this event, and I like that we got to see this side of Kyle mourning someone that she really loved. And it's worth showing, when someone, chooses to end their life, like to have that thing at the end saying like, this is not something that we talk about. And, if you're feeling these issues, like it was
it definitely felt like, not in a cynical sense, but like it felt almost like a producer move on Kyle's behalf to be like, can we put in this like charitable moment where it's in partnership with NAMI, that like, nonprofit. And I think she was like, it would be really important for me to send this message publicly and like insert this.
Yes.
Like it felt like that's what it was for, more than like, I'm sure that they had like a private service that was more of a like actual celebration of life. This felt more like a charity event. Yeah. And the way like based around her friend.
Yeah. And the way they filmed it with like Morgan Wade, singing the song to her was like, they filmed it very beautifully, like to like showcase that this is like about more than just a typical event. But before I talk about how beautiful this event was, I want to talk about how Anne Marie, I think it has to be in the top 20 biggest flops of all time. She's sitting with Crystal and Garcelle, who are Sutton's friends. Yeah. These are her friends.
Yeah.
So
her
these
only
are the
main friends.
Real friends.
Yeah.
Like actual friends. These are the worst two people to ever do what you're going to do in front of. I don't know what the hell you were thinking. They just all celebrated you for your birthday in Ojai, and it was a sweet moment. So then Anne Marie, for no reason, out of nowhere, says not to change the subject as they're sitting down. But I want to talk about Sutton's small esophagus again. Seriously, first of all, imagine Anne Marie, who just saw all of the hate she got in backlash 3 episodes ago when she diagnosed Sutton's thing, to know that in 3 episodes she's going to have a conversation at the celebration of life where she brings it up again. That must have been the worst 3 weeks of Anne Marie's life, waiting for this episode to air. And it's even worse the way it's the worst segue in the world. Yeah. She says not to change the subject. Then she goes, I have been scouring medical books and talking to medical professionals, and there is
I wish they had footage of her like going around town.
I instantly wanted her to have a gigantic medical book or whatever that she was.
I'm picturing the movie Seven when they're like reading all those like biblical books in the dark like Harvard library.
I was picturing her in the library going through furiously going through books, like riding on one of those ladders that spin through the thing to get faster to another medical book, and then bringing it down and ripping through it. It was like, that's what you did with your time
for her fucking esophagus that no one gives a fuck about. Right. Like, and what investigation? Yes. What's the outcome of this investigation? What's the best case scenario for you?
Yeah. Best case scenario is that she uncovers some Brooks Cancer-esque scandal about Sutton and gets the glory.
It's
of-
essentially her being like, I have heartburn. And she's
Yes.
like, everyone knows that
Yes.
you don't get heartburn
Exactly.
like this.
And I will say, Garcelle, I think, handles this pretty well in Anne-Marie's defense. Knowing she's a new cast member, she just goes, why do you care? And then she goes, oh, Anne-Marie goes, oh, because, small esophaguses. She's talking to Crystal and Garcelle now. She's like, small esophagus can actually be a symptom of, the aftermath of an eating disorder or something else. And Crystal goes, I'm sorry. I think before we imply that Sutton has an eating disorder, and Anne-Marie goes, I didn't imply that she has an eating disorder. Those are your words, not mine. And then they go 20 seconds later, her actually bringing up eating disorder.
Right. I feel like I don't even know if she truly meant to imply that Sutton has an eating disorder, except, well, maybe she did.
Well,
but like,
why would you even say those words?
Right. But I have looked into this, and as we discussed, I'm like, she is right. The reflux of persistent vomiting does build scar tissue that makes your esophagus smaller. So it's relevant. But first of all, this conversation's burnt. It's not worth it. Second of all, or maybe she should know, Crystal suffers from an eating disorder. So certainly she's already extremely uncomfortable with this conversation. Then you throw an eating disorder into it. She's going to clench up. It's going to be bad. What are you doing?
Yeah.
No.
Not a receptive audience to have this already horrible conversation that already the audience has turned on you about. It was just every worst case scenario was happening at one time for Anne-Marie. And Crystal, I thought, deserves some credit for how she handled this, because she was, Anne-Marie was obviously the easiest target in the world to criticize her for this, but I thought Crystal was pretty great handling the situation.
Yeah. She did look like she wanted to die.
Yeah.
She was so uncomfortable.
Yep.
I also saw that she posted on Instagram. I don't know quite what it was regarding. But it's her sitting in her backyard, and it's here's to being a good person and having boundaries and sticking up for what you believe in or whatever. And I was like, that's fine, but you're not good at being a housewife. Congrats on your lifestyle, but I don't need to see it.
Would you at all be stunned if I told you that in the preview for an upcoming episode, Anne-Marie brings it up again?
Oh my God. I can't take it.
Is there ever been a worse hill to die on for any cast member to bring up that the audience has hated more, but you're going to make it your
next
only
week, isn't
storyline?
it about her credentials? She told me she was now they're trying to make it about her being a fraud.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not interesting. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I just think all around, this is just not something that should have been scrutinized, but it really is Anne-Marie's fault that she keeps making this her grievance against Sutton.
Yes, at a memorial event.
Yes. Oh, right. And I didn't even say this is the worst of event
And then,
to bring this up.
I think, I'm not going to say it's a stretch, but Sutton immediately goes, when it gets brought to her attention, she's like, does she know that my father committed suicide? Which I'm like, that's true. I'm sure it's triggering to be at an event like that where the main topic is suicide.
Yeah.
So, that was, we got a reminder of Sutton's background in that area, which was very dark.
Yes. Oh yeah. And then if there's a sweet moment where Kyle is giving her speech, which I thought was great. Kyle was nervous about it, but she's giving her speech, and she's saying all this, stuff about you. I forget exactly what Kyle says, but just talking about how much her friend meant to her and the whole history of everything. And Garcelle takes Sutton's hand in that moment because everybody's crying.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And I thought it was sweet that they all bonded over this moment.
No, it was really sad. I do read into it kind of boldly that Mauricio wasn't there.
Yes, and Garcelle rightfully pointed out that this is indicative of what they're going through now, because in any other, I think, time in their relationship, Mauricio would have made it a mission to be there no matter what.
When she had to reveal to her friend's grieving mother, she goes, where's Mauricio? And she's like, he had to travel for work. I was like, that was a gut punch. That was first of all, it's kind of sad because it's kind of disrespectful, because I assume he knew that woman their entire 20, 30 years or whatever.
I almost read it as Kyle didn't want him there.
Yeah.
Because if Kyle at all wanted him there, I don't think Mauricio would have let himself look bad enough to say, I'm sorry, I'm flying to wherever to open the agency or whatever. I think he would have done it no matter what his schedule was.
Right.
I think Kyle didn't need...
She wanted to feed Morgan fruit on a skewer.
You think so? I think it was just
Mauricio would have slapped it out of her hand and been like, "Feed it to me."
he would have been like, Kyle, I thought you did like cantaloupe. And she'd be like,
in our day.
yeah. And she'd be like, no, I've always hated cantaloupe. Don't you know anything about me?
She's like, I have a tattoo of a cantaloupe.
Right.
He's like, where?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that Kyle didn't ask Mauricio to be there.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have brought anything emotionally to her. She's already sort of deadened to his loss.
Sure. I feel like he should have been there no matter what, but my backup benefit of the doubt was that they already had like a friends and family service kind of a thing, and then this was like an additional, but obviously, especially because she was so nervous, he should have been there and normally would have been there. It just seems like he's like literally never home and they're living separate lives.
Yeah. And Kyle's doing a good job of making it known almost in every instance she can that things are not very good at all. Like she's not really hiding this fact.
No. And then like the last thing that was so dark is that she said that her friend's last words to her like 2 days before she died was that Kyle should cherish her marriage. And so now whenever it's clear that they're going to break up, she feels like she's letting her friend down. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's very sad. But obviously, if Kyle will find someone, if it's not Mauricio, like she will find love again. And the end message I thought was really sweet, where Kyle was just like, all we can do in the end is just like lean on each other. I thought that was sweet. I thought that was a beautiful ending to this episode.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this Morgan Wade character.
Do you have any more, like, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't have any full-formed thoughts on this, but like, I know we already talked about it a little bit, but I think it's like the main question that's on everyone's minds, but like, is there a world in which Kyle doesn't like Morgan, Morgan doesn't like Kyle, they're not interested at all in starting a relationship, they're just good friends? I mean,
it could just be like they're like super codependent, and like that doesn't mean that they're gonna scissor.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So final thoughts. I think Amy, I think you're right, and I think we should leave instantly on that note. No, I'm just kidding. Damn, maybe not that too. No, I think I think that I already said it, but it's like I'm not reading more into it than what I see, which is just that I think Kyle needed someone. Morgan brought a full new energy to Kyle's life that she's never had before. Teddy wasn't bringing this. Faye Resnick wasn't bringing this. Whoever else Kyle depends on. Morgan Wade offered a full, unique outlook to her life. Yeah. And she is charmed and whatever you could say, like, not flirting, but, like is drawn to what Morgan Wade is bringing. Yeah. And it might not be anything more than that, except that in the absence of Mauricio, she's leaning on someone emotionally, a new friend. And there's a lot of power in a new friend. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of things they can offer you, a new perspective. And maybe it's just that. Yeah.
Whenever I see paparazzi pictures, it looks like Kyle, Kathy, and Morgan have been hanging out. And I'm like, maybe there's something there too, where she's bridging their sisterhood and like is like sort of like a good mediator between them and like forming a new sort of group where she's there and makes Kyle feel comfortable and like safe around her scary sister. Yeah. So I think that's interesting.
What did you think about Dorit being like, yeah, I met Morgan Wade once and she stuck out like a sore thumb?
Yeah, she was like, that was like the last time we hung out with Mauricio.
I feel like I was going to ask you if you think Teddy is at all like resentful of the newfound Morgan Wade relationship, but I was like, Dorit definitely is, almost outspokenly resents.
Yeah. Well, Teddy has Tamra Judge.
Ooh, wow, you're right. Wait, that's good.
Well, now also we didn't talk about it, but the Tres Amigas are severed.
Oh shit, that should have been news. I was just gonna say, if you've got Tamra on your side, you don't need much else. So I'm saying good for Teddy that you've got Tamra as one of your most friends you rely on. But yeah, I guess we shouldn't get into it, right? Can we just say it quickly at the end?
I mean, the two of them are going on tour?
Yeah. So what I think happened is that Tamra befriended Alexis Bellino after Alexis started dating John Jansen. Also, Tamra wasn't there for Shannon after the DUI because she was filming Traitors or whatever in Australia. So Shannon started to get bummed out about her relationship with Tamra. And Tamra also, in a horrible way, thinking producer-minded, wanted to befriend Alexis at a time when Shannon was down and out because she knows it's going to be great TV in the future. So Shannon kind of wrote her off, and Vicky took Shannon's side because Vicky has been through this 100 times with Tamra. She knows Tamra is just waiting to turn on her anytime. Oh, yeah. So now they're off doing it to her on their own. And Dos Amigos, and Tamra is not a part of it.
Yeah. I saw earlier this morning that I don't even know where I read it, so TBD, but that Alexis has been made a formal offer.
Yep. I saw it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean, makes sense.
Makes sense because she sort of she like played all of her cards right and did exactly what anyone should do if you wanted to get back on the show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Monica, take notes.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing because I think it sets a bad precedent for other former cast members who want to create fake relationships so they can get spotlight again. Yeah. And also Alexis Bellino, I never thought was very good on the show. Yeah. So I don't think this is going to bring a lot except to just make Shannon feel like shit.
Yeah. Oh, a little turtle cutie messaged us that I think I texted you, but Jim Bellino has a restaurant in Palm Springs called like Jimmy B's or whatever, and we should go.
I saw that, and he came out and he goes, "Are you Bravo fans or whatever?" And they said yes, and he goes, "I was on one of them," and they go, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "I was Jim Bellino." Yeah,
and I think Lisa Starr is right there.
Okay, I would love to go to Jimmy B's with you and celebrate Jim. Is that his name?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's bad, but I just want to see.
He was horrible on the show. He did though. His second season glow up was interesting that he decided to get a new chin. I thought that was remarkable.
Yeah, he was kind of like Danny McBride character-esque.
Yeah, he really was. Okay, so should we leave our little turtle cuties to go to sleep and shove off?
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground today.
We did. I mean, would you say we covered everything in the Bravo universe that's happened in the last week? Now
that we did Tres Amigas, I think we did.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say just at the end that I am watching Potomac. I know you are as well.
Yeah.
So far, it has still not risen to making it in the, I think, discussion. I mean, we could have maybe next week some talk about the state of Potomac. Yeah. But I feel like we are in line with the overall fan reaction that this is a complete dud season and it needs to be reconsidered.
Right. It's had some high highs, but I would say this season is a low.
Yeah. And I think we're not like speaking out of school to consider it that. I feel like a lot of people consider it the case.
That's what I've been reading, which is why I've been behind because everyone online keeps saying it's bad. So I'm like, I'm not going to prioritize.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much to our little turtle cuties for listening to Amy and I this week. I feel like we did good. I always try to think objectively about us, and I feel like this was like bordering on B+/A-.
Good.
Right?
Good. Yeah.
What do you feel?
I think it was good. I think once we get into Vanderpump and Summer House territory, we're going to shoot up to like an 11 out of 10.
Yeah. You and I are like, we are going to be like Anne-Marie in the library at Harvard, scouring the medical books, racing
the esophagus
around.
Section.
Yeah, totally. So cool. All right. Well, we love you so much. This has been another episode of Turtle Time.
We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
This one's for you.